Welcome to episode number 23 of the Andy Campbell Championship Show, only on Ace Podcast Nation. I'm your host, Si, and I'll be joined by ex-Premier League and Championship striker, Cardiff City legend, Mr. Andy Campbell, who we'll meet in a minute. We'll have the usual features, we'll have any other business, we'll have our 2 for 2s, we'll have our main 3 featured games as well as all the other games. Andy will answer your questions, no matter how weird and wonderful they may be. And of course, we'll have the greatest segment in radio or TV, the fake Geordie Bingo Lingo, where Andy uses his school teacher roots to teach me about his northern culture. So, with no further ado, let's meet the man himself, fresh off his man of the match performance in the over 40, and he said under 40s then, over 40s league.
Well over now.
Collecting another goal, and I'm sure another pie. Mr. Andy Campbell, welcome, buddy. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good, mate. Yeah, thank you very much.
Another goal.
Yeah, just the collection. Good finish as well. No pie this time, though, so I was disappointed. Hungry, starving after.
Shocking.
Yeah,
What's wrong with these fans?
I know.
So what was it? Was it a header?
No, a little tidy finish, 1-on-1 on the goalkeeper. So yeah, I'm back quick again because I can use my players against like a 45 stroke 50-year-old.
Yeah, certainly. Go give the keeper the eyes. Job done.
Yeah, that's all you need to
do. So guys, all our shows, as usual, are available in video format at youtube.com/AcePodcastNation and audio versions at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and all of those. So check them out. We've had a lot of new subscribers and new followers on Facebook particularly, so welcome. And thank you for joining us. Give us a little subscribe on YouTube. So we're trying to get to that magic 1,000 on there. So yeah, today's show brought to you by Away Day Apparel. Away Day Apparel is a group of casually obsessed football fans looking to bring you something different to the wardrobes of people, like-minded people. Please visit their website, awaydayapparel.co.uk, which I'll leave the links in the description. I highly recommend giving them a follow on Twitter at awaydayapparel and Instagram at awayday_apparel. 2020 is going to be a very interesting year and exciting for the brand, particularly in the run-up to the Euros. Might have something special. And speaking of something special, exclusively for listeners and viewers of Ace Podcast Nation, if you use the code AA Podcast Nation, you'll get 10% off at the till. If you go to their website, it's case sensitive. That code is AA Podcast Nation, and you get 10% off your order.
Nice.
Can't do fairer than that.
No.
Bargains.
Lovely gesture.
Indeed. Can't fault him.
No.
Some good stuff on there as well, and I've seen some of the stuff for the Euros recently.
All good, all nice stuff.
Some really good stuff, actually. Really looking forward to it. What a show, mate, today. What a show we got.
Yeah.
Championship, South Wales derby.
Yeah, loads of good games, loads of good goals. Some big games. Probably the best goal I've ever seen over the weekend, which we'll talk about later. It's allowed, I can't believe it. Referees on I took him off the Christmas list because he just ruined my weekend with this just the decision he did. But yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I'm sure the striker wasn't.
I don't think he was either. Don't think
his manager was anyway.
No, but he wasn't. He wasn't actually. I think he made a big thing about it. Lee Johnson after the game, so it was nice to see that we all agree on the same thing sometimes. Not that I'm saying I'm happy that Lee Johnson agrees with me because angry little man at times. So let's see.
Yeah, one of your best buds was on the championship highlights show. Danny Mills. Danny Mills.
Yeah.
Danny Murphy. Danny Mills. Yeah.
Yeah,
Still not a good pundit.
No, he states the obvious. And I don't know. Yeah, I know. It's getting to be. It's similar faces, isn't it? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's nice to freshen things up and have someone who's opinionated sometimes, which gets the punters going and gets interact because I don't know. And this is the thing side about football that, supporters, you can't fool supporters anymore. You can't do it. You can't fool people in the Premier League. You certainly can't do it in the Championship because it's all action. And you know what I mean? You know if your team's playing well, shipping goals in, doing well. You know what I mean? And we're going to obviously talk about a lot of them. And, we use the word in the first show side about bottling things. And I feel that could be a word getting branded about tonight.
Yeah, definitely, mate. They what I don't like about like the Championship show and the Match for Day and Sky and BT is with some of the pundits is they like you just said, you can't fool football fans. Football fans know what they're talking about in varying degrees. And if you just trot out some kind of ex-player who just runs out a load of cliches and stuff, which either isn't really true or is just kind of like really boring or obvious, people kind of switch off and they go and make himself a cuppa and stuff. That's why I like Gary Neville, even though he was never one of my favourite players. I think as a pundit, he's really good because he doesn't state the obvious. He'll argue his point, and he's not afraid to criticise. Man United, where he spent his whole career, he's obviously got roots there, but he's not afraid to criticise them as a club because he's a fan.
Yeah, but what I don't like to say about certain people is when they start to reevaluate their own career and go back to when times were good or bad. That's back in the day. Football's so different now. It's a business now.
Changed,
it's changed dramatically since I played, and I haven't been retired too long. You know what I mean? So some of those players have been retired further, much longer than I have been. And you know what I mean? You can't compare the two. It's just impossible. It's just so chalk and cheese now. You know what I mean? And football it's just evolved so much and will continue to do so. And whilst all the money in football's a business.
Indeed. What you got for your first any other business? Because we'll start there and we'll work our way through.
I'm going to start with Friday night. So I watched a very dull first half in Sheffield United against West Ham, and then decent second half. I was quite impressed and just wanted to watch an entertaining game of football on a Friday night, which is always nice to start your weekend. And then all of a sudden the interesting event started to unfold with VAR again. And it's just, I'll be honest, it's getting boring outside. You know what I mean? How many times we spoke about it on here? How many times I have to watch it on Match of the Day? Every time I see Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, Jamie Redknapp, etc., talking about it, and it's just getting tedious now. You know that Declan Rice, how on earth he was expected to get out of the way of that is beyond me. You know what I mean? I understand people saying rules are rules. It's his hand. It's not hand to ball, and so it's the rules what's got to change. You know what I mean? That the VAR don't have to stick to the rules. They've got to use the common sense at the same time. That if your hands in an unnatural position, it's handball. So your hands above your head, your hands moves towards the ball. That's not happening. That's just not happening. You know what I mean? He's gone shoulder to shoulder with another player from Norwood, I think it was. Two honest players battling for the ball. Norwood's headed the ball onto Declan Rice. Declan Rice got the ball down. He's played it into Snodgrass, and Snodgrass has finished it quite neatly inside the post. And then you've got David Moyes running down the touchline celebrating. You've got all the players running into support celebrating. You're coming back to the 80. You're coming back to take kickoff, and then all of a sudden we're celebrating in non-goal. And I just, you know what I mean. And Chris Wilder's interview was spot on after. You know what I mean. He said, "I feel really sorry for David Moyes. It's happened to us 3 or 4 times this season, but the rules are the rules." And so I get his point. But at the same time, I just think it's making a farce of football, you know, because you can't be celebrating non-goals. I couldn't be honest. I wouldn't enjoy standing there and being happy that we've been saved by VAR, saved us 2 points or whatever it may be, or you know what I mean, caught my blushes out because it's a goal's a goal. You know what I mean? What's the world coming to? You know what I mean? If the 2 lines and the referee didn't see it, then it's not obvious. It's not an obvious mistake. It's just one of them things. It's just becoming a farce, and very quickly.
Well, the thing is, that goal could cost West Ham the way they're going. Obviously, they've sacked their manager. They've brought in Moyes to try and steady the ship. And like exactly what you just said, like Declan Rice cannot get out of the way of that ball. He cannot be expected to get out of the way of that ball. It's not like the ball's being crossed like across a 40-yard ball across the pitch, and he's tried to chest it and then kind of used his hands to sneakily just bring it down, or he's
Mm.
bounced up and he's knocked it with his hand to bring it, into his line of run or his controller. It's been headed to him against him from like half a yard.
Yeah,
From
and he's
guy
challenged.
who shot.
He's running at speed. He's shoulder to shoulder a challenge with somebody. So there's two things going against him already, and then the decision goes against him. So
And then on top of
I
that,
don't know.
it's like 40 yards away from goal, so he's got a lot more.
Yeah.
It's not like he scored with his hand. He's hit him, and then he's had to go on and run 20, 30 yards and
This is
beat
a
the
question
keeper
for
or
you then,
whatever.
Si. So if Declan Rice and Ollie Norwood do that challenge inside the box, and Declan Rice gets his head towards it and heads it on Ollie Norwood's hand in the box, do they give a penalty for that?
I think they probably would.
I think they have to because it's the consistency of these ridiculous decisions for me, and that would be how on earth can you, just because the ball's hit your hand in the box, it doesn't make it a penalty because what I mean. What you're supposed to do now, Si, I used to see back in probably about 5, 6, 7 years ago, foreigners coming into this game and putting their hands behind the backs, just in case they don't handle it, which is an unnatural position because your hands aren't behind your back, your hands are by your side.
Dangerous as well.
You know what I mean? Well, exactly. So you know what I mean. If you move your hand out and you stop the ball, or you put your hand above your head, I'm all for that. But unnatural position, your hands are not in a natural position if they're behind your back. It's a ridiculous statement. Ridiculous.
I think the one thing I'd say with VAR, and I'm not a fan, as you know, is
I didn't know.
One thing I would say is that with handballs, except when it's for Liverpool, they seem to don't mind then. They just ignore them when it's against Liverpool. But for everyone else, it does seem to be a hitch hand is handball.
Consistent.
They have given it. It's the one consistent thing which they've kind of done with VAR. It shouldn't be, and it's just not the rules either. But I know they changed the rules with handball this year again. But equally, like, to me, it's got to be either intentional or if it's like a rebound and you're shooting from the 6-yard box and the defender's tried to block it and he blocks it with his hand, then you've got to give a penalty then because he's stopping a goal. Mm-hmm. Even if it's, he's not diving like a keeper to save it and it's just hit his arm and he can't get out of the way, you've got to give it because it would have been a goal. It's different. That's different to having the ball blasted at you on the halfway line, hitting your hand from 6 yards away and then giving a handball. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be context to the decision.
Totally agree.
It's just unfortunate that
But then,
if West Ham get relegated by like a point.
But then the consistency side, you know what I mean? People are saying that they're going to see the season out and then they're going to look at the rules and maybe he's changing it. Well, hang on a minute. West Ham get relegated this year because of that decision, and then they change the rules. Then, hang on a minute. You know what I mean? Same as Cardiff getting relegated last year with no VAR.
The problem, I think,
it's opening the can of worms for everybody. In the court of arbitration, you could go and sue the Premier League,
That's exactly
everybody.
what I was going to say.
You know what I mean? So
the problem which occurred to me the other day was with VAR now. Does it open up the door where if VAR gets something wrong and a team gets relegated by a point or 2 points or whatever because they lose a game instead of drawing it or draw instead of winning or whatever it may be, and then they get relegated or they miss out on a title, do they then look into legal proceedings? Like, no one wants to see, none of us want to see that. But to me, I think VAR opens the door to it because they will use the precedent that it's a video referee, the referee, it's clearly
it's not human error. It's not human error. Yeah. Well, things like that. It's only a matter of time, Si. You know what I mean? Because it's going to cost someone down the line. It's going to be, you know what I mean? People are going to look back at decisions. It might happen in the last game of the season. It might, you know what I mean? It's like the FA Cup though. If in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, if Oxford United are still in the FA Cup and they play a home game and somebody gets knocked out of the FA Cup in that stage and it costs you a place, where'd you go? It's the same. It's the same thing. It's just a big mess, and I don't know why they keep on forcing the issue. You know what I mean? If they don't like it, stop it. Be honest about it and just say, listen, it hasn't worked. We're going to stop it. It's had its teething problems. We're going to have to try it somewhere else or in another level before. You know what I mean? We found out it doesn't work, and it's ruining the flow of football. It's you know what I mean? It's not even the teething problem now, so it's just toothache. It's absolute. It's horrific.
It's just a problem.
Mm.
But like we said, just going back to what you just said about the FA Cup, you can't have one game having VAR, another game not having VAR in the same tournament. You just can't do that. That's not a level playing field in a tournament where all teams, are supposed to be on a level playing field, other than they play at different, levels of the league pyramid. And I was amazed when I found out that. Like, I could understand if they didn't have VAR until the third round, where you get the bigger teams. But once you've got VAR coming into the tournament in one game, you have to have it in every game from that round forward.
Totally agree. They're just it's a mess, and it needs resolving sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I just bin it, and we can go back to talking about how rubbish referees are.
Yeah, I agree. And promotion and relegation of referees on performances alone.
Well, yeah, this is the other problem, isn't it? Is like that used to be the thing, was that if a referee made a mistake in a Premier League game, they'd get relegated to the Championship, and so on. Whereas now, like, does that mean the VAR ref is getting relegated because they're making mistakes, or is it because they're technically not mistakes because he, it did hit his hand? So so do they count that as a mistake? I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it's not what I wanted VAR to be when I heard they were going to use video.
No, I was excited. I was excited about it, and you know what I mean. It's not really having the impact which I wanted, which I expected, and you know what I mean. It's like we're running before we can walk. You know what I mean. This goal line technology was the first thing which has worked, because it saved some embarrassing brushes which we've had in the past from referees and linesmen which have missed certain things. But this for me, we can do without it.
Indeed. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about was Ollie McBurney, Sheffield United striker, has today been reminded of his responsibilities by the FA and the Premier League, because he went to watch the South Wales derby on the weekend, and he was caught on camera basically sticking his fingers up and shouting at Cardiff fans. Now, to me, and I'm glad that numerous pundits and footballers kind of spoke out today or yesterday about it and said if they charge him or they do anything to him, it's ridiculous. Because you moan about players and fans being completely separated, and the players, they live in another world, they get all this money, and they're completely detached from the fans, they don't care, blah blah blah. And then you've got a guy who hasn't got a game, or he's not playing, so he goes to watch the team where he's come through, and he's given him his big break. And then he was a bit aggressive, I suppose. Not even aggressive. I wouldn't even say aggressive. Boisterous, and he used, dare I say it, bad language, as did probably 25,000 other people in the ground.
So are they all getting reminded about their responsibilities and things in their jobs this morning?
Probably not, mate. They all work in Cardiff or Swansea, don't they?
So what's the there's no, you know what I mean, there's no different.
He went a story, isn't it?
He went to a game to enjoy the team that he really loves, and you know what I mean. He went to watch the biggest game, or the biggest game for Swansea this season. You know what I mean, playing Cardiff City away. So it is what it is. He went to go and enjoy it. He enjoyed it. One thing what was bad though, his dress sense was horrific, but that's another story. You know what I mean? I'll you know what I mean. He can do what he wants, but wearing that again, he can go and get away with it. He can't get away with it.
I mean, you got to be fair. It's not very often that Swansea get to play a side, the size of Cardiff City. So
yeah, so you know what I mean.
Let them enjoy their day out, on you.
they're an FA Cup final, so you know what I mean. They've got to have every support they can because they didn't sell out, so they need the celebrities to fill out, don't they?
No, certainly.
Yeah, so yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
That's right. Yeah, I can feel my text coming off Brett now. Yeah, they're not going to upset him, so I apologise. No, we're only playing anyway. It's like it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah. Listen, Si, he went to watch a game. He loves Swansea. You know what I mean? So he went to watch a game of football with all his mates. You know what I mean? He got carried away like all his mates did. He probably said something whilst the camera was on him. You know what I mean? He made a hand gesture, which we've all done, but everyone gets away with it. And he's been reminded of what is just kid stuff. Just let him enjoy a game of football and don't stop him doing that again, because why should he not go and watch Swansea again?
That's it, mate. Well, here's the thing for you then. So if I had gone to Cardiff Swansea yesterday, which I did not, and I'd been caught on camera swearing at the Swansea fans, would you have reminded me of my responsibilities to the Andy Campbell show?
No. Why should I? Because you know what I mean. Is it?
We'd
Are
have
you
used it
breaking the law?
we'd have used it at the start to go with the credits for the Andy Campbell goal at the Millennium Stadium. That's what we would have done.
Exactly. Did he break the law? Did he do anything?
No, he didn't.
Different to what anyone
He
else
didn't
is
cross the
doing?
line,
So
did he? You know,
no,
like I would
no,
say,
not in my opinion.
99.9% of people swear, don't they? You know, so
inside it, and you know what I mean. We speak regular on here about being fair, and you know what I mean. We're talking about a massive game and rivalry, which goes beyond rivalry. So if people don't say this is fair, and what we're talking about is 1,000,000% fair, you know what I mean? Because for me, he's done nothing wrong. It's a non-starting conversation. He went to watch the game. It should have been on him. The camera should have been on him about 5 seconds, and that's it. Let him enjoy the rest of the game.
Indeed. So let's get into the games. Go on. Let's get into the games because I was going to ask you about Camarasa, but we'll talk about that when we get to the Cardiff game. So we've got the first game we're going to cover is Brentford and QPR. See
I'll be honest.
Yeah, see, look at that. Technology
at its finest. Si, I'll be honest. I've never seen an attacking display like I watched on Saturday lunchtime in the first half for a very long time. I thought Brentford were just outrageous. You know what I mean? QPR could not live with them, and they scored really early as well. But to be honest, it should have been 1 or 2-0 before that. Brentford had a strong start. Watkins could have had a penalty before they scored. It was relentless attacking from minute one. And it was Ben Rama who scored from such a clever free kick, you know what I mean, that everyone expected the ball to be in the box. He got cut back at the penalty spot. Ben Rama pulled out the penalty spot and a tidy finish, which obviously give Brentford the lead. Mboma then scored a clever flick after hesitation from the defender with the goalkeeper. But you know, you've got to put those chances away. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. People can blame defenders, goalkeepers for hesitation, but it's a really clever finish. I thought Watkins was all over the place. He was getting into areas, creating chances. He missed some absolute sitters, some gilt-edged chances. But I was so pleased when he scored his header just before half time, because if anybody deserved a goal in that first half, it was him, because he led the line really well and he caused QPR a number of problems. And I was really pleased for him to get that goal. And at half time, I thought, this is going to be 5, 6, 7 if QPR continue the way they are, and they didn't, thankfully, because you know what I mean. They've had a good solid season, and I'm pleased that they started playing a little bit in the second half. They got a consolation through Naki Wells, so a decent setup and a simple finish, but they could have had another one, but for a decent save, but then Brentford after that continued to create chances, and Ollie Watkins missed another couple of, well, on his standards, probably gilt-edged chances, and it could have been more, but Brentford climbing the table, closing the gap, and on the look of it, they're one of the most informed teams in the Championship. So if anyone's going to catch the top two, it looks like it could be them.
At the start of the season, well, like the early portion of the season, we were quite critical of Brentford. They'd spent a lot of money, and we said, look, if they don't go up, they got a massive problem.
Yeah.
And they were struggling. They were like draws, losing. They were just couldn't quite. They were actually. I don't think they lost a great deal, but they just couldn't seem to get the wins. They were drawing a lot, and all of a sudden, like they're defensively, they've been excellent all season. They got the best defense in the league. but all of a sudden, the last probably couple of months, Ben Rama and Watkins and the other guy, which I can't remember the name of, the three of them just look like they could just score.
Umbomo, he's just all over the place. And
they look like they could score 3, 4, 5 goals every game.
Yeah.
And like they beat Luton 7-0 the other week, or the other month, I think it was, just before Christmas. And I did think that was the way it was going at half time. QPR did well, I think, then to get a foot back in the game. But I do think a lot of it was down to Brentford's wastefulness in front of goal, because as well as they did play, they missed a lot of chances, which they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I agree.
But they played so well, it's difficult to focus kind of on that.
It's when you score 3, Si, I think it probably papers over the cracks a little bit, where we've been quite critical on Leeds, for example, who've missed a lot of chances because when they miss loads of chances, they don't score any. You know what I mean? Where Brentford missed loads of chances and still score 3, so it still looks like a really good performance and result. Whereas, like you say, it could have been 7 again, 7, 8, 9, because they were that good again. And you know what I mean? It's the chances to create. You know what I mean? I've never seen a team apart from Barnsley, Brentford, just create just a ridiculous amount of chances every single week.
Well, the other thing is, mate, is how often this year have we talked about teams scoring 3 goals and not winning a game? And we've talked about it a lot, about defences. Now, Brentford have got the defence to back it up. So even though they scored 3, that was enough. But if they do play, a Leeds, a West Brom, a Fulham, whoever, Barnsley, they score, whoever they play. They do have to be careful of that, is the one thing I would say. But their first half performance alone was so good that,
blew them away. They just blow teams away. And I think it'll be interesting if they can sustain it, if they can close the gap, because the gap's still a big gap, and you know what I mean. And if they don't close the gap, will they have enough to finish the job off in the playoffs? Because you know what I mean, the way they're playing, side, I don't see them not getting in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Do you think they'll sign anyone now in the January window?
It's interesting. I listened to the manager's interviews and things, and I read a couple of things. And I think he's quite content with the squad. But then when managers say that, they go and spend loads of money. So it's reading into things. You know what I mean? If he can see an area where he needs to improve, then I think he's got to. But where's an area from what we've been watching that they need to improve? Do they need to create more chances? No. Do they need to score more goals? I'd say no at the minute. Do they need to be a little bit more consistent in defence? I'd probably say yes. So, but then they spent a lot of money on the lead centre half, spent on Pontus Jansson. You know what I mean? So you can't just go throw money away for the sake of throwing money away at the same time, So you know what I mean?
Well, the one thing I would say is, what was their bench? So let's have a look. Sorry. Yeah. So like their first 11 is as good as anything, and I tell you who impressed me was Norgard. I thought he was real good. De Silva's been good all season.
Yeah, he has. He just make things tick. He's just that kind of creative player. And we spoke about people playing 10, about that position to in between the lines, between midfield and attack, and you know what I mean. It just you can't play against it. Yeah, you can't play against it.
And let's not forget Ollie Watkins, defender by trade.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he played defensive midfield last year. You know what I mean, and scored something like 7 goals all season, or 6 goals, and I think a lot of them were set pieces.
How many goals he got this year? I think 18th league goal this season. That was
18th league goal already. You know what I mean? With January. You know what I mean? So he's got a good season ahead, and I believe that they don't need to sell him. So I think they'll keep hold of him, and they'll have a good push. And I think sometimes you said there about signing anybody. If they can keep hold of Ollie Watkins, they don't need to sign anybody for me. But then you've got to make sure he stays fit, because if they do lose him and the January window's closed, then what do you do then?
I suppose the good thing is they've got the other two, haven't they?
But that could happen to anybody, though. We could say that to any team, because you know, I mean, Bradley Jack's going to be a big haul at Blackburn. You know what I mean? If it happened to Paddy Bamford or Jack Harrison at Leeds, or you know what I mean, a Kenneth Soho, a Kanu at Robson Kanu at West Brom, it's the same thing. So you know what I mean?
So the Brentford bench is Thompson, Makoto, Makoto, Valencia Castillo, Marcondes, John Vier, Daniels, and Zambrick. I gotta be honest, I'm only familiar with probably 3 or 4 of those.
Yeah.
The 3 or 4 which I am familiar with, they're pretty good players.
Yeah, they are. I think they've got. I think they've got a decent sized squad, but it's injuries. You said it earlier, and we spoke about Bristol City a few weeks ago that you pick up some horrific injuries or a couple of suspensions at the wrong time in the season or before a big game, it could cost you season. So
yeah, but the other problem, and as well, is those players now are all starting to come good.
Yeah,
Is if you bring in a big name from a Premier League club, say, I don't know who, just someone like a big name, spend a bit of cash because you want to really make that push.
Yeah.
And that could completely rock the boat, upset your Ollie Watkins or your Ben Rama or your Norgard or De Silva because they've got you to where you are. And then they talk to their mate and say, "Oh, I've been playing well all season. I've scored 18 goals this year." For example, I'm not saying that Ollie Watkins would be the one who'd be unhappy. I'm just mean, do you know what I mean? It can
totally
spread quickly.
Totally agree.
As anyone.
I think as I say, if let's say for argument's sake, they're going, let's say Brentford go inside Dwight Gale from Newcastle for £5 million, for example.
Why would they do that?
He would have to go and play. He would have to play. You know what I mean? So that's the problem you've got. And Ollie Watkins for me is, if not, he's got to be one of the top 3 centre forwards in the league on current form. So, you know what I mean? For me, you carry on. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And I think Brentford, if they can continue this pace and teams start getting itchy feet at the top and bottling things like they look like they are, maybe possibly, they've got an opportunity to catch them.
But okay, then here's a question for you. What about QPR? What do we think in terms of where they are, how they're doing? Should they spend money? Should they just keep doing what they're doing with their young squad? What's the current outlook, do you think, with the window open?
I think you can only judge QPR in the last few seasons, and they've been absolutely disastrous all season. I think the biggest problem QPR have had is defence. You know what I mean? We haven't really spoke about them. I don't think they've ever been beaten in one big hit. Like Luton have been beaten 7, for example.
Yeah.
Other teams have had big beatings. They've let in 51 goals this season, which is the second worst in the league. But most of their games are, like you say, like Saturday. So it was 3-1, 5-3, 4-0, 3-1, 3-1, 4-3, 4-2. They're scoring goals, but you know what I mean. They're shipping a lot of goals, and you can't afford to do that. So you shouldn't have to score 3 goals a game to win a game in the Championship. So that, you know what I mean. They need to be very careful about how they move forward. You know what I mean. I think the defence or a couple of signings defensively is probably a priority for Warburton in a minute, and I think that's where they need to start looking at.
Do you think Nketiah on loan to play up front with Naki Wells and the other one? I can't remember his name. Oh, I'm sure I'm terrible with names. Jordan Hugo, and you've got Eze. I'm terrible with names. Sorry.
Is that the rumor?
No, I'm asking the questions.
I think
it's not. So I don't think it's someone they need, is it?
No, what I've heard on the grapevine that he's going to Bristol City, so which I think will probably be a good signing for Bristol City.
Well, in fairness, and Bristol City got a tiny squad.
Yeah, well, yeah, they need players, but obviously with the 4 being missing all season.
Yeah,
of course. I think, but then after Saturday's performance, which we'll go on about later on at Wigan, they don't need him on current form, but you know what I mean. It's the lad needs to play football. You know what I mean. So he needs to pick his next side very carefully because he didn't play at Leeds, so he needs to pick his next destination very, very carefully.
I think Cardiff could do with his creativity. I've got to say.
Totally agree. Yeah.
But I say that about bloody anyone at the moment because if Tomlin's not doing it, they lack that creativity.
Yeah.
Anything further, mate, that you would like to add on?
No, not on them. No, I think
QPR and Brentford.
No, Brentford for me, they've probably been one of the most exciting teams to watch, and it's for me if they can continue the positive results away from home. I think they've probably got a great chance to catch the top two. But my problem what they have is their away form. Their away form's not as consistent as a home form at Griffin Park. So, if they can get that sorted, they'll have a good chance.
Yeah, I think Brentford look like they're going to be in and about the automatics the way they're going.
Yeah.
So we'll see that, especially if they keep up their defensive displays, that more so than their offensive plays.
Definitely.
However, that first half performance was about as good as anything you will see.
Totally agree.
So next up, we have the South Wales Derby.
Yeah.
Sexy.
Do you know what, Si? I was pretty nervous before the game because obviously
Because Cardiff have been crap all season.
Yeah, and then obviously I didn't want Swansea to do the double. You know what I mean? Because obviously, apparently I didn't know at the time, but obviously it hasn't been done.
108 years.
You know what I mean, for that long. So you know what I mean, it was something what they were aiming for. It was obviously something that Cardiff didn't want to happen. So all in all, a 0-0 game. You know what I mean? I put something on Twitter straight after the game and just said I'm not sure if I was happy with that or not. But you know what I mean? A lot mixed bag of feedback that. No, I'm not happy with it. We lacked creativity. We didn't show enough going forward, and then some that I thought we looked organised. I thought it was all about not losing the game. And do you know what? I agree with both, but I think with my sensible head on, you know what I mean. I thought Cardiff controlled the game defensively, looked really strong, looked well organised for probably the first time under Neil Harris. Really, and probably grew into the game a little bit. You know what I mean? I thought Swansea played direct, which I've never seen before. They mixed the game up. I thought they had a couple of half chances in the first half. They hit the post with a very good move, and probably edged the first half. But then Cardiff grew into the game, like I say, in second half. They pinned Swansea back for long periods, but they just lacked the quality. And when Callum Patterson hit the crossbar, with his header. I don't think he could have done much more with that because he was stretching for it. He couldn't really get it down. I think the keeper probably had it covered if it was any lower. But it was just chances are few and far between, and a decent result side to it. It's a point to point. You know what I mean? The club's evolved. You know what I mean? Like you say, we lacked creativity, and so did Swansea. You know what I mean? Swansea were up there. There was no difference between the two teams. I think. You know what I mean? In a couple of games' time, the league tables could change again, and Cardiff be ahead of Swansea, and things can look a little bit rosier. And I know it's an important game for supporters. I know it seems like it's life and death, but you know what I mean. Especially what's happened over the last couple of weeks. I think Cardiff handled the occasion really well with what happened before the game and stuff. And I thought the supporters were excellent and pushed the players on and backed them all the way through the game, which was really pleasant to see.
So I missed the first 5 minutes. Did the Swansea fans respect the minute silence at the start?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously it was a minute's applause or whatever it was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I think that's better.
And to be fair, I think you know what I mean. There's been a few Swansea fans who've messaged me and put things on social media and things, and it's you know what I mean. It's a football family side, you know what I mean, for me. And these things what happen, you know what I mean. They put rivalries aside sometimes at times. And,
oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? If that was the other way around, and that was a player who I played against and who I knew who was a similar age to me who played for Swansea, and you know what I mean, I'd send the message straight over because it's just out of respect, because it's you know what I mean. Football does seem like it's
human
life
being,
and death.
mate, isn't it?
It does. It does. Yeah, football does seem like it's like life and death at the time you're playing, at the time you're doing things. But at the end of the day, it is just a game, and regardless of what people say, it's an important game, but it's just a game.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I asked that is because, like I say, I missed it, and you always do get, or sometimes you get idiots who spoil it for others. But I got to say, all my interactions with Swansea fans have been exactly the same.
Yeah, I thought they were fine.
I had a message off one Swansea fan after last week's show, just commending us on, doing a good job, and said how well you done and stuff.
Yeah,
can't fault them.
I've got that. Well, listen, we've been quite ultra positive here on Swansea. You know what I mean? At the start with Ollie McBurney, and you know what I mean. I thought Swansea did a decent job. You know what I mean? I was quite surprised with the way they played. Sides go back again. I thought they were very direct, and if that's the way that they play away from home, because obviously they've got the passing, especially at home, down to a fine art. So if they're mixing things up and mixing the game plan up, you know what I mean, then there could be a threat this season, and they could do really well, because you know what I mean, they've got players who can You can pass the ball about, open doors. You know what I mean? But it's sometimes when you've got to fight and you've got to put the battle in, you've got to put the work in. Sometimes it can you can become unstuck, and you know what I mean. They kept going as well. Like Cardiff kept going, and it was an entertaining 0-0 draw.
So I disagree with you slightly about something you said. You said you thought Swansea edged the first half. I didn't. I actually thought they edged the first. Well, I thought Cardiff opened up quite well,
Yeah,
first
they
5,
did.
10 minutes. Then
Yeah,
I
they did.
thought Swansea got a bit of a footing. And I texted you, I think, about half hour into the game and said,
Yeah.
I've never seen Swansea go as direct as they have
Yeah.
in probably 20, 30 years. Like
I
since
can't
I was
remember
a
that. I can't
kid or
remember.
something.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I
Like
think
they
ever for
never,
me.
it's
Yeah,
they
ever.
were just, but they, I'm not knocking them for it because I actually think that it was a good game plan because Cardiff were expecting them to play out from the back. So they put the two defenders for goal kicks. They put two defenders in the box as if they're going to play the short football that everyone is familiar with.
Yeah.
Cardiff pushed two strikers and then number 10 up to get ready for the press as soon as the goal kick's taken, and then they'd gone direct to AU and then tried to play off him, and they did it a few times. And Cardiff didn't. They didn't adapt to it. They didn't realise that they were doing it. Or I don't know what you would say. They just
probably weren't expecting this side because people go and watch the Swansea games and watch the tactics, and the tactics are written down for that game. And if the scouts have scouted on a game and that hasn't happened, then you know what I mean.
They
You
can
can just
sometimes read a bit like robots, can't they? And they don't.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
think.
but
I don't mean that in a critical way. I
no,
just mean the way they've been trained and brought up.
Yeah, totally agree. So it's the same. It's the same as you know what I mean. But probably Swansea fans won't be happy if their team play like that week in, week out.
No,
so
of course.
You know what I mean. So that's why if you can mix it up a little bit, then you get the best of both worlds because they came with a game plan. They got the positive result from it. So they're probably the happier out of the two. You know what I mean. Regardless of what the manager comes out with, the rubbish he was coming out with about the grass being too long and they tried to play. Well, I missed that. I'll be honest. I missed it.
Try and play.
You know what I mean? They didn't try and play. They played a lot more. And you're never going to be able to play sight in a local derby like that with tackles flying in and people putting a shift in and not getting time on the ball. You know what I mean? You're not going to play. You know what I mean? If people let people play in a derby, in a South Wales derby or a North East derby or an Old Firm derby, supporters are going to let you know what you're doing. Scream at you to close people down and. You know what I mean? So it's never going to happen. So, you know what I mean? I just thought his comments were poor, really.
Yeah, I wasn't particularly impressed with his comments after the game. So before I move on to Cardiff, I just want to say I thought Grimes and Byers for Swansea, outstanding. And what a combination. The way the two of them play together, like obviously I don't watch them week in, week out other than highlights, but it seemed very much like your Grimes is kind of your winning the ball, like Byers was winning the ball as well. But then you got the pair of them can use it going forward. They do a job defensively, very creative. Byers very skillful, got some great vision. They'll do really well to hold on to them in the summer. Particularly Byers, but I think Grimes as well. And I think they're both very young. And I know Sky were beating the AO drum as if like he's the second coming of strikers and he's the new Alan Shearer. I've never been a massive fan.
No.
I don't think he's particularly great. And that's not a Cardiff Swansea thing. I didn't think he was particularly great before he went to Swansea.
He's got a good reputation. He's got a good reputation side, but he doesn't set the world alight. He doesn't do. No, he doesn't. He hasn't got. He doesn't hold the ball up as well as other players do. He doesn't run the channels as better than other players do. He's not inundated with massive pace. You know what I mean? So it's a strange one. You know what I mean? But he's got a really good reputation. But
he stands around a lot with his hands on his hips as well. I noticed. And I felt sorry for his teammates who were working their socks off, particularly the boy who was up front and trying to play in and around him.
Yeah, but he just got goals outside when he needs to.
Does.
So, you know what I mean. He did get himself into some dangerous positions on Sunday lunchtime. You know what I mean. So on another day, you know what I mean.
The ball you hit the post, I thought was very good as well.
Yeah, and to be honest,
Selena was there.
Selena, and I thought that effort was outstanding. You know, the way that he took the ball in, he opened his body up and curled it in. You know what I mean. He probably shouldn't have celebrated after he hit it because I think he thought it was in. But hey ho,
looked a bit
you know what I mean.
Yeah. But we've all done that, haven't we? Wheeled away.
Yeah, of course we do.
Celebrate him before it goes in, and I remember watching you wheeling away before the ball went in the Millennium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's history.
You made a career off that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's what happens when it's a shin side. I can do it.
What people don't realise about you is you've, up until this weekend, you'd never scored another goal. You only scored one goal in your whole career.
2 great goals.
2. It was the one where you obviously had the one where you had the pie in your face.
Yeah, the pie.
But apart from that, you haven't.
I can't remember that. I can't remember that because I was concussed after that, so I don't really remember that.
Contest. You were full up on pie. From a Cardiff point of view, one thing I was happy to see was Glatzel starting to look half tidy. I don't think he's quite up to it where he can be, but I thought his link-up play was very good. I thought his link-up play was good. His hold-up play was pretty good. I'd like to see a bit more kind of work off the ball, maybe like running, not necessarily the channels, but just sometimes I felt like he was a bit stood in the middle, waiting to be hit. But I also think that could partly be down to Neil Harris telling him and the rest of the team to hit Glatzel and play off him.
Yeah.
Which is what obviously he used to do with Steve Morrison a lot. So I do think that's probably got a little bit to do with it. But I thought he was very, very good, with maybe not without excellence. Junior Hoylett is the Cardiff winger problem for me. You just don't know which ones are going to be good from week to week, and it is a massive problem, especially now Mendes Lang is injured.
Well, I was quite surprised with team selection side. I'll be honest. I was.
Yeah, me too.
We played the FA Cup against Carlisle. Obviously, I'm not only saying Carlisle. That sounds really disrespectful. But I thought Patterson deserved to play.
Yeah.
I thought if you're going to go direct and you're going to put balls in the box, if you played Gratzel and you played Patterson both together, I think you'd have upset him from the minute one, and I thought you'd have really got at them. You know what I mean? But then you need people to deliver, and Joe Bennett I thought was a lot better. I think he fully deserved the accolades. I think he's been poor for long periods this season. But I thought he was
seen him play
back to his
18 months.
Back to his normal, probably normal best. But you've got to have more chances. You've got to create more chances for the centre forwards to really earn their crust or to take criticism from each side, because we're on about Patrick Bamford all season. You know what I mean? We can criticise him because he misses chances. We just criticised Ollie Watkins because he misses chances. How can you criticise Gratzel if he's not getting the delivery which those kind of players are getting? Yeah. This is probably my biggest bugbear. You know what I mean? That he's an excellent player. You know what I mean? But he needs certain balls in the box. Sheffield Wednesday, he gets a ball ahead of him. What happens? He scores. There's a ball in the box on Sunday lunchtime. Who's on the end of it? Patterson. Because they're the kind of balls that those kind of players thrive on. I'd have hated that kind of ball because I wouldn't have even challenged for the ball because it's not my cup of tea. I want the ball over the top in the channel, running onto. You know what I mean? You've got to play to your strengths. Millwall won't have played a ball in the channel to Steve Morrison. They'd have put the ball over the top. Balls in the box. You know what I mean? We've got to play. The manager's got to be a little bit more clever and play the strengths a little bit for certain players. And I think we're missing the trick at times. And I think that was evident. And you said earlier about Lee Tomlin that I think the pressure on this player is just ridiculous.
Ludicrous, isn't it?
Ridiculous, because if he's not playing well and scoring goals, Cardiff don't play. So if I'm an opposing manager, all I've got to do in the first 15, 20 minutes, knowing Lee like I do, is put 2 men on him, stamp him off the ground, be aggressive, wind him up, put him off his game, and we've more or less won the fixture straight away because we could either get a goal, he could get an early yellow card, he can lose focus. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest, I feel really sorry for him because people are becoming a little bit clever to what it is, whereas Lee's clever enough. If he's got two men on him, he'll still want the ball, he'll still receive the ball, and he can still get the ball to the free players. But the free players have got to do a little bit more because
they've got to be overlapping, they've got to be moving.
You know what I mean? They've got to be. You know what I mean? Because someone else is free. If that's a fullback free, if that's Peltier charging down the right, I thought was excellent at times. If that's Joe pelting down the left, if that's the two wide men, whoever it may be. It's consistency side for me. You know what I mean? I was so pleased that Gavin White got a game. So pleased. I thought he's deserved it, but it just wasn't to be for him on Sunday. It wasn't. But he's not. He's also not match fit and match ready because he hasn't played for a long period. So he's played last week against Carlisle, which is a nothing game in comparison to it's in front of 4,000 people, and then he goes and plays in a South Wales derby in front of 30,000 fanatical supporters. So it's such a different game side. You know what I mean? You can't even compare the two. So you know what I mean? I think the manager, for me, in my opinion, I think he got the team wrong because you know what I mean. I think he's judged the team badly from the QPR game to the Carlisle game to the Swansea game. I don't think you can compare the three.
Well, together. The thing is, what I want to know is how. So Etheridge dropped. Okay, I can maybe see it. Smithies didn't really do a lot wrong at the start of the season.
No.
But Morrison has held on to his place. Peltier's held on to his place. Bennett, although Bennett played well, held on to his place. Bakuna, Pack hasn't been very good for a while.
No.
So why isn't Volks playing? Why isn't Flint playing? Why isn't Patterson starting? For me, I would like to see Murphy and White get a run of 4 or 5 games now starting and play at least an hour and see what they can do with a run of game, because I think both of them are confidence players. I think both of them they can't be in, out constantly. I think it's particularly Murphy. I think he needs a run of games, much like Mendes Lang and Zohor and these types of players who've done well for us previously, but they always did well when they had a run of games. Look at Tomlin. Before Tomlin got a run of 10, 15 games, he was struggling because he didn't feel 100% fit, because he was like an hour here, half hour there. Whereas you gave him a run of games, he's got his fitness up, and now he's our best player by far.
But so you just said it earlier about fooling supporters. Supporters can't be fooled either. So you know what I mean. To keep on changing wingers like he is, and changing centre forwards like he is. You know what I mean. You go back to his first game against Charlton. His main centre forward was Gary Medine.
Just left on a free.
This week he goes and releases him on a free. So how can someone who doesn't play for probably a year and a half under a different manager play straight away under the new manager, and then a month or 6 weeks down the line you release him on a free? It just does not make sense to me, Si. You know what I mean? Business decision wise, ridiculous. It's cost the club an absolute packet, a fortune. So it's been a waste of money. You know what I mean? You keep hold of him, you get some out of him, you sell him, you swap him with another player. You know what I mean? It's you've got to. I don't know. I think you've got to do a little bit more than that. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? But then, is there more to it? You know what I mean? I've seen some things on social media about the way he handles himself off the pitch, which true or false, I don't know. I don't know the boy. You know, I know he's had a checkered career. He started at Carlisle, went up to Sheffield Wednesday. He's done pretty well at previous clubs, Bolton, etc. But you know what I mean? I just thought it was a very strange call. And how do you feel? Like Gratzel, for example, you're thrown in over the last couple of weeks because he's decided to go down a different route of tactics. It's the whole thing, sides for me, just smells of confusion and
disorganisation.
The players are confused, and defensively we've been all over the place. That for me tells a bigger story. The players are confused. He's now gone down a route or a format where defensively we're going to get this sorted. We're going to be a unit. You know what I mean? So if that's where we're going to be, but then we're not scoring enough goals, and you know what I mean. He's come in wanting to entertain and wanting to impress new fans and whatnot. But for me, he's not coming out as smelling of roses, because we've gone from one negative manager who was set in his ways to another similar or same but younger. And I'm not sure how long supporters are going to buy into what they're watching at the minute. I'll be honest.
So here's the thing for me, and this is just my opinion. I don't speak for everyone. I don't speak for you. I just speak for myself. When you've got a manager who comes in for a manager who's been successful but has come to the end of his run as your manager, and you bring in a new manager, but that new manager, the reasons for bringing him in are not on his. They're not on merit. They're not on his the style of football he plays, or his trophies he's won, or the ability to managerial ability, or what his recent record. It becomes very difficult.
Yeah.
Because straight away, like you just said, Harris has come in. He knows that he wasn't the fans' pick, so he's come in picking these really attacking sides because he wants to kind of get the fans on side by playing a different brand of football to Warnock. But that's not the style of football that he as a manager has ever played.
Totally agree.
So he's kind of like stuck in this quandary. Then he hasn't really got the players to play that type of football, but he also probably hasn't got the players that he needs to play the way he wants to play, because whilst he's got Glatzel, he probably hasn't got enough pace and energy behind him to run beyond and play the way that he would have previously with the likes of Morrison. Because as good as Tomlin is, he's not going to run beyond Glatzel for a flick on.
No.
He's going to play deep and try and slip little balls in and things like this. They do need signings.
Yeah.
Badly. But I also think he needs to utilise the squad that he's got better. And the four for me, which I think should be in that first team for at least 3 games, is White, Murphy, Volks, and Patterson. And maybe Flint as well, maybe. But I can understand, I can almost feel people saying, "Oh, Murphy, he's been given a chance." But I'm not on to me, starting a game is not a chance. Starting 3 games in a row and playing at least an hour, that's a chance.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're a confidence player, it takes time to settle. And I think sometimes with Murphy, by the time he's settled, he's been brought off.
Yeah.
Or he comes on for 20 minutes, does quite well, looks quite skillful, starts the next week, struggles, or doesn't get into it straight away, gets taken off, and you're back to the same old thing. They paid 12 million for him or 11 million for him or whatever it was. So, he's a decent player, he's skillful, he's fast. What we actually need. So let's use that properly.
We got to utilise his outside, haven't you? You know what I mean? Yeah. So he needs to be getting the ball for me in the attacking third areas. You know what I mean? For me, we're inundated with all these kind of players. You know what I mean? I came to Cardiff to watch Middlesbrough, Cardiff at the City Stadium, and you know what I mean? I was so impressed with Gavin White in the first half, but he's getting the ball in the right back area and having to travel. So by the time he's getting to the 18-yard box, his legs are going. He's tired. He's probably rushing things instead of getting the ball a little bit further up the pitch and being able to drive in the box and saving his energy for all the good parts, or maybe getting a shot away or an end product. You know what I mean? I think that's what's happening with probably because the defence is keeping a defensive line further back to protect the goalkeeper and a team full of which is lacking confidence. You know what I mean? For me, you see that the best sides of the teams who have a high line. You know what I mean? The defenders on their halfway line, the midfielders are pressing. You know what I mean? They win the ball, they pass it to the wide men, they get the ball in the box. How many crosses can you get in the box? How many shots can you have? You know what I mean? If you look at, we've said it about Leeds and about Fulham and about Brentford. And even about Barnsley, you know what I mean? We're not just talking about the best sides of your side. You know what I mean? We're talking about any team in the Championship. If your tactics at the start of the game are, you know what I mean? I did it when I was a manager. That I'd pull one of the wide men before the game. I'd say, how many crosses can you get in the box in the first 10 minutes? Can you put 5 crosses in the first 10 minutes? Yeah. Can you put in 20 crosses today? If you can put in 20 crosses today, you'll have a good game, regardless of how you think you've played. You know what I mean? Because you've done your job. You know what I mean? A fullback, if you can stop crosses today, if your midfielders, if you can win 5 second balls, or centre halves, if you can win 25 headers in the first half, you know what I mean? You've got to just make individual battles. Every single player's got an individual job to do in that team, and if everyone did the job collectively, it all just works. Everyone's a little cog in a big wheel, and at the minute, I don't think that the big wheel is working as much as it needs to be, or it's a little bit confused, or it's got these teething problems where the top's working and the bottom's not, or the bottom's working and the top's not, and I think that's what it looks like from the outsider looking in. That, you know what I mean? 1 minute we're scoring goals at Sheffield Wednesday, but we're letting in some rubbish goals, and then all of a sudden now we're keeping a clean sheet, looks solid, hard to beat, but then we're lacking at the top end, and it's getting that happy medium in the fine, just to find lines between the two sides. And you know what I mean? The championship's a different animal, where it's the team who creates chances and scores goals is a successful side. And the Leeds, the West Broms, the Brentfords, those sides are up there because they're scoring goals and winning games. You know what I mean? They're still letting goals in. You know what I mean? West Brom have probably shipped, they shipped 2 at the weekend, 2 against Middlesbrough. You know what I mean? 2 against Luton, I think. You know what I mean? So they're shipping goals in, but they're still scoring regular goals. I don't see Cardiff doing that, and not just scoring, creating as well, which is the most important bit.
They create so many goals, and those teams just mentioned, Cardiff, just don't create at all, do they? Yeah. So the one thing I would say, when you look at that starting lineup, I don't know if you've got it in front of you, but I've got it here. So you got Smithies, Peltier, Morrison, Nelson, Bennett, Baguna, Pack, White, Tomlin, Hoylett, Glatzel. Now, to me, the only people with pace in that team is White.
Yeah.
Maybe Bennett, and I wouldn't say Bennett is like hugely. You know, he's not slow, but he's not lightning. And that's about it.
Well, Junior's not inundated with pace like he used to be.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Not anymore.
He's very tricky. He's got good delivery. You know what I mean. But for me, if you're playing two wide boy side with Lee Tomlin, you need pace both sides. You know what I mean. So for me, you know what I mean, with the subs what he had, you know what I mean. For me, it had to be Josh Murphy because there was no other player on the bench because obviously Mendes Lang wasn't available. So for me, it had to be Josh Murphy to play. You know what I mean. And to be fair, but then if you've got wide men playing really wide side, you need to fill the box. You know what I mean? Is Lee Tomlin going to get in the box? No, he's not. He wants the ball to feet. He wants to set things up.
Back, isn't he?
So, you know what I mean? Your formation's got to be tweaked a little bit, and you need to fill the box. And it was only when probably Callum came on that he just looked a threat. You know what I mean? Looked a threat, but you're bringing a centre forward off a centre forward, so you're still playing the same way. You're just changing personnel, and for me, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? So we didn't go and try and win the game. We were happy to stay the same way, but hopefully win the game. We haven't tried to win the game.
I'd have rather have seen Bakuna or probably Pack go off, and played and put Patterson up front with Glatzel, and have your Hoylett and Murphy. I would have taken Hoylett off instead of White, so I'd have had White and Murphy.
I totally agree.
Subs with Tomlin behind. You maybe drop Tomlin a little bit deeper to play alongside Bakuna.
Yeah.
And you try and win it that way. They just did like for like, and this is my problem: is that tactically we're very predictable.
Yeah.
So
a lot of teams say you judge by a subs bench, and that subs bench there for Cardiff City is outstanding. For the Championship level, it is outstanding. You've got loads of options there to change the game, but unfortunately for me, you've got to do something out of the ordinary and different to go and try and win a game. You know what I mean? For me, I've just said there, I think the tactics in the end, they were happy to not lose the game. And not force the issue and try and win the game. I think the longer the game went, Swansea were happy to sit and see the game out. So that was the time to go for it and try and win the game. So, you know what I mean? It's a game of cat and mouse. Football's a game of cat and mouse. You know what I mean? It's a game of stick and twist. You know what I mean? Do you go for the jugular, or do you sit back? Leeds have done it all season. Leeds go for every single game. Saturday was the first time this season I think it's backfired on them a little bit for a long time that they've gone for a game and all of a sudden they got caught in the back door. But 9 times out of 10. It's worked for them. So, you know what I mean? And they've gained more points than they've lost. So it's the bigger picture. I know it's Swansea. I said earlier, I'm not sure if I was happy or unhappy with the result, but You know what I mean? But then I can go back to the first game side at the Liberty that Cardiff City didn't turn up that game, and that was the travesty of the season. You know what I mean? And that was why Neil's lost his job, probably because in and around that game, people were starting to question, are the players playing for him anymore? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the whole issue is because of some inept performances from the players and work rate from in big massive games, unfortunately. So the position we're in is because of previous results, not just because it's Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I agree. And before the game, if you'd offered me a point, I would have taken it.
Yeah.
With a good performance, simply because of how poor Cardiff have been recently and how poor we were in the first game. Just to finish off on Cardiff, mate. If Victor Camarasa, would he be a good sign-in for Cardiff if they can get him, whether it's on loan or?
Million%. You can't buy quality like that, Si. You know what I mean? He's got a goal in the midfield, which Cardiff are crying out for, which any team's crying out for. Is creativity, his likability. You know what I mean? He's going to get the fans excited. He's going to get the bums back on seats, and I think that's what needs, Si, because we spoke about Sunday was always going to be a big attendance, big performance, really. You know what I mean? Because the players owed it to everybody. Look at the FA Cup, you know what I mean? Those are the kind of games, and you know what I mean? Camarasa plays and signs, and the game before that, and you can guarantee you've got an extra 12, 13, 14, 15,000 people come to watch the game because he signed. You know what I mean? So it creates a bigger buzz, you know what I mean? So you're going to get better performances out of the other players because training's going to be better, games are going to be better, expectations are higher, you know what I mean? So it brings the best out of other players. Players don't want to see competition, but at the same time, you're playing with better players, so you raise your performance levels as well.
I'm gonna, in terms of transfer talk, I'm gonna leave that just because we had a couple of questions about Cardiff's transfer talk. But sorry, but I do think that Camarasa would be an essential signing.
He's not even anywhere near Crystal Palace, which is such a waste and a travesty about what happened in the summer. You know, so you know, what I mean, career move. It's been an absolute disaster for him. It's been a disaster for him.
He should have stayed at Cardiff. And I'm not just say that as a Cardiff fan. He was happy, and I think
fans adored him as well.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to stay in the Premier League rather than leave Cardiff. I think if Cardiff had stayed up, he would have signed for us.
Yeah,
but I think he wanted to stay in for whatever reason, and yes. So moving on. So the third game of our main feature 3 is the mighty Middlesbrough versus Derby County.
Yeah, so Wayne Rooney was quite looking forward to seeing how that worked out. Really, I was impressed with Derby. We've been quite critical on here. Well, I have, especially about how they travel, and to be fair, they've got some good young players. I thought Middlesbrough were excellent throughout the game, but I thought Derby had some really good spells as the away team. Borough started really well. Lewis Wing, he should have scored with a header, which is, to be fair, it was a really easy header, probably easier than his goal that he scored with a 25-yarder. And to be fair, Lewis Wing, over probably the course of the month, I think he's been one of Middlesbrough's better players, and he's driving from midfield and getting some really important goals. Derby started to come into it just before half time. Had a couple of half chances. I think Waghorn probably should have scored. He was brave, but Ainsley Players made a decent save. Second half, Derby really came into it for me. And the tactics from Cocker, whatever was said at half time, he got them really going. And sometimes you need a bit of luck in football, Si, and I thought they got it with the goal. It was Knight, he scored straight from a cross. You know what I mean? It was definitely a cross. He didn't mean to score from there, but you get a little bit of luck. No fault from the goalkeeper. He couldn't have put it anywhere better for him personally. But it got Derby right in the game, and Middlesbrough were on the ropes a little bit. And to be fair, the longer they needed that second goal, and to be fair, Fletcher should have had a penalty, which the referee didn't give, and then they got one from Patrick Roberts, which drove into the box. You know what I mean? And he can't dive in there. Just let him go away from goal like he was. They dived in, and he got a penalty. And Paddy McNair finished really well from the penalty spot. But then I wasn't comfortable. You know what I mean? Watching the game, and you're thinking that Wayne Rooney's getting the ball, that people are letting him drive in the box, putting crosses in the box. You've got some good players. You've got your Martins. You've got some players attacking balls and stuff. And And then all of a sudden, Holmes unleashes a volley from 25, 30 yards out, and even when he hit it, I didn't expect it to go where it was, and he absolutely flew in the top corner. And fair play to him, You will never score many goals like that, especially in the time and injury time. Disappointed that we drew, but pleased that we played really well, carried the run going. But I think Derby probably deserved something from the game as well because they were a decent side, and I wasn't expecting them to come to Middlesbrough and attack like they did at times, and especially second half. I think the Middles were back for long periods, so I think they probably deserved something from that alone, really.
Yeah, I thought Middlesbrough were excellent till about the 55th, 54th minute. The fullback gets his pocket pinched for the night goal. He probably, he should have just stuck it up the line or put it out for the throw.
Dale Fry, should have
done that. So they can reset. He kind of tried to be a bit too clever.
Yeah.
And you get that from young players. They're going to make mistakes and errors like that. Yeah. And then obviously you get the luck with the goal. I thought up until then, I thought Middlesbrough were excellent.
Yeah. That's super.
Then Derby really came into it. I thought McNair had a cracking game, and he deserved his goal. Definitely should have been 2 penalties.
Yeah, 100%. I thought the first one was more blatant than the second one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I thought Wayne Rooney last 10 minutes for Derby was really good. He dictated everything. He was moving the ball around different angles.
Drove him on side. He wants the ball all over the place. You know what I mean? That's off the back four. One minute he's getting the ball off the back four. The next minute he's getting the ball off the centre forward. So his drive, his determination, his desire is just excellent.
You can always tell when he's angry because 2 seconds, mate. My World War III is breaking out of my ass and the door's open. Yeah, you can always tell when Wayne Rooney is like up for it, or like particularly if his team is losing, and you can tell when he's bang up for it because he'll, like you just said, he'll pick a ball up from the centre backs, he'll move it out wide, or he'll move it to the midfielder, and then he's straight up trying to link the midfield to the attack, or vice versa, and he's spraying the ball 40 yards from wing to wing, and particularly the last 15 minutes, I thought he was very good. What he does very well is he creates these angles just to play a wall pass off, whether it's himself or other people, and just kind of move the ball from against, quick 1-2s, just to move the ball up the pitch and take 1-2 players out of the game.
Yeah.
And he just does that very, very well.
We spoke to Sensei about Lee Tomlin having 2 players around him and being brave and wanting to get the ball. And that's what he did. That's what he did Saturday. He took the bull by the horns and made sure that he created space for the players and being on. It's the most unselfish thing to do. And fair play to him. He did it really well and took the pressure off some of the younger players. And they're obviously learning from the best. And it can only be good for Derby County, and they needed all of the help they can get. I think because Cocker was. He was on his last legs before Wayne came in, I believe.
Yeah, 2 interesting managers in this game, really, because you got Koku, who looked like he was on his last legs, and Wayne was just waiting to take over.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Derby have picked up since Rooney's come in. He's clearly given him a lift, even if it's just from what he expects in training as a senior player. And I've, from what I know, he trains very hard and he's aggressive and all the things you'd expect of Wayne Rooney to be in training.
Yeah.
So that will drive other players on.
Yeah, of course it will.
They will see that and they're going to see and think, wow, he really wants this. So he's not just here for the paycheck or whatever. So he's clearly had an impact. But then I suppose you've got to give Koku credit. He's the manager. So maybe it's been his tactical genius which has got him going as well.
Yeah. Well, I didn't expect him to play centre midfield side, I'll be honest. I didn't. That was obviously the plan all along.
I did. I thought he would play.
Well, not there. Not defensive. I thought him and Hudson just run the game. They just dominate the game. There's no. Is there a better defensive duo in the league than those two. You know what I mean? And if they're both on song, you know what I mean, and Derby can have a few more better players going forward, and you know what I mean, they'll start picking up more. They've picked up, haven't they? You know what I mean? And I think they'll continue to do so. I'm not saying they're gonna get anywhere near the playoffs, because I don't believe they will, but you just never know with certain teams. There's always a team who picks up and does really well, and you know what I mean, they've done really well since he's come and picked up some points which I didn't expect him to pick up.
Yeah, I thought Jonathan Woodgate particularly has done a fantastic job.
Yeah, he's looking great at the minute. He's looking confident. He's looking assured on the touchline. He's making some really good decisions. He's backed his youngsters. You know what I mean? He's not scared to lead them in, put them in and leave them in. You said there about leaving players inside for 3, 4, 5 games, and you know what I mean. The good thing I've seen him do is he leaves these players in for 3, 4, 5 games, then he pulls them out for a game, but then he puts them back in, and he puts them back in for 3, 4, 5. So he brings them out intentionally to give them a rest. You know what I mean? And that might be in a big game. It might be in a lesser game, an FA Cup game, which you think, you know, I mean, these players want to play against Spurs, but you know what I mean, it's not an importance. You know what I mean? They're going to play next week, and you know what I mean, the league's the bread and butter. We're not going to win the FA Cup. You know what I mean? And yeah, you know what I mean. Middlesbrough got a big FA Cup game tomorrow at Spurs, and but the young lads can go there and enjoy it and sample what it'd be like to play in a Premier League stadium against Premier League players, and have no fear, and just to see what happens, because go and enjoy it. You know what I mean? I remember when I first went to Cardiff and we went down to Spurs in the Carling Cup, or the League Cup, whatever it was, Coca-Cola Cup, whatever it was, and it was just a great experience to go and play against these kind of players and test yourself against the best. And you lose the game, you expect to lose the game, but you still play with a smile on your face and enjoy every minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, it'll be a good experience for those players. And also, like with Woodgate, I said to you, I think probably maybe about 10 games into the season, when I think you were feeling a bit down with it all, a bit frustrated. And I said, like, you got to give him time, because he was trying to change, you know, so much about the way Middlesbrough has been for the last 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah, it's been so negative, to be fair. And
it takes a long time to change, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And to be fair, you know what I mean? It's a club which is evolving. You know what I mean? It's the expectation for me. You know what I mean? And I think that the manager turned the results wrong just at the right time. And you know what I mean? He's got the best out of the players. You know what I mean? They're not the best players in the division by a long shot, but you know what I mean? They went to West Brom, got a great result. To push Derby on Saturday, again for me, against some very, very good players. So you know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see where that young team can end up towards the end of the season.
Indeed, and yeah, they got some cracking young players as well.
Yeah.
So next up, we got Barnsley, Huddersfield. So we're into the other games now.
Yeah. Barnsley. All we do week in, week out is talk about Barnsley and about how many chances they create. You know, I mean, this is probably one of the games which didn't create as many chances, but they got the positive result. Chaplin, he got player of the month, Connor Chaplin, and rightly so, because he scored so many goals. And I thought his goal on Saturday, which turned out to be the winning goal, which is the second goal, was absolutely outstanding. And to be honest, I thought they deserved it overall. You know what I mean? Chaplin got his 9th goal of the season, 25 games, and Mauer scored the opener, and they just had. I think they had that. I think it was the desire side what got Barnsley over the line, because this was one of those games where they couldn't afford to lose, because they were joint bottom with Luton at the time before the game, and Huddersfield were above them by a couple of places, and obviously Stoke are still above them, Wigan were above them, and it mustn't lose. So to win the game, I think was a massive achievement, and it gives them still a small chance of getting out of it, because regardless how many games they win and how much they impress us going forward, they're still in the bottom 3, and in the bottom 3 because of the amount of goals they ship in. And you know what I mean? And when the goal went in for Huddersfield, they just look a bag of nerves, and they just look like they're going to lose the game, even when it's 2-0 up. And you can see the panic in the players' faces, and the supporters, the manager, and panicking. And you know what I mean? I was so pleased that they got the result. I believe Huddersfield is safe, and it's a transition, and he's done wonders there, as Cowley, the Cowley brothers. But I do hope Barnsley can pick up a few more wins, especially on the road, and because Oakwell's a horrible place to go to at the best of times. So, but you know what I mean? I think it's going to be a big ask for them to get out of where they are.
Yeah, out of all the teams in the bottom three, they're the team I want to see survive now because the way they've played football has just been refreshing from the start of the season. It's just been defence versus attack for 90 minutes. Huddersfield had the chances. Fraser Campbell missed one. But like you say, Barnsley have they play so well going forward. If they would have defended like they defended last season, they'd be in the bloody top 10.
Yeah, they've got no fear, and I think they've probably had a different look on tactics this season. Obviously, the manager's lost his job. They've probably gone a little bit more gung ho. Let's go and try and get more goals because you need goals to stay up in this league, and we can't afford to lose. What's the point, Si, really, of losing games 1 and 2-0? You know what I mean? You might as well go into games and go and try and win them. And I think that's why we're getting so many goals in the Championship, because teams are trying to win and trying to get the first goal, get the second goal, and you know what I mean. So it's a joy to watch, and Barnsley are no different. And I think they deserved it on Saturday. You know, Huddersfield did have a couple of chances, but I think overall Barnsley had the better chances and put in a couple of good winning goals.
Yes, it's very interesting to see, where they go from here because they've been playing some great football.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I'll be interested, just to see if they can keep going and maybe tighten it up a bit at the back. And then you just don't know because I do think if they could tighten it up at the back, you're looking at a whole different team.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got. Sorry, I've lost my list. Blackburn and Preston.
Another big derby side, Lancaster derby. You know what I mean? It couldn't have started any worse for Preston, to be honest. With Armstrong getting the first goal, he played a lovely 1-2 in the box with. It was Holtby and tidy little finish. Got him off to a great start, but I thought Preston grew into the game. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's a terrible start for them. You know what I mean? But I thought the equaliser from Harrop was absolutely outstanding and was worthy of winning any game. But those kind of games, you know what I mean? They're renowned for a little bit like the South Wales derby, loads of huff and puff, and supporters demand excellence and demand players to give their all. And you know what I mean? I think, but what comes with that is it lacks a little bit of quality. And the attacking players, what were on show, you know what I mean? Armstrong, Gallagher, Holtby, Stuart Downing, Maguire, Harrop, Brown, Bahusen. You know what I mean? I don't think we've seen enough quality from the front eight, which was worthy of winning the game. You know what I mean? So probably the players who come out with all the credit are the Travises and the Evans in midfield who were winning the battles and getting on the ball and starting things going. You know, and Paul Gallagher in midfield. You know what I mean, for Preston. But Blackburn they've had a cracking season so far. And obviously Preston have fallen away a little bit, and I hope they can revitalise their season and not fall away any further because they've had a great season. But you know what I mean, the derbies are, as we all know from the South Wales one on Sunday lunchtime, that you know what I mean, it's about teams not wanting to lose against a rival, and I think a fair result was probably the draw.
Yeah, I think so. Is Josh Harrop, is he on loan with Preston, or did they sign him?
Let me just have a quick look. Yeah, because I've got it on here.
Because I know I watched him play for Man United when they played.
Yeah, no, they signed him. Yeah, he signed him. Signed him on.
That's interesting, see, because I watched him play for Van Gaal for United, and he looked a real good player. He just didn't look physically mature. He was quite small, but he certainly got the ability to be
his goal side was his goal on Saturday was worthy to win any game. It was just technically, and you can always tell side a good player with the celebration when you score a goal like that, and if you celebrate like you're a madman, it shows that you don't do it. You've never done it before, or you don't do it in training. Where he scored it and he celebrated like it's a regular thing that he normally does. So it just shows to me that he's a very gifted, talented footballer, and I'm not surprised that he will do it and do it again.
Indeed. Armstrong was very good for Blackburn. Massive blow for them to lose Corey Evans on stretcher.
Yeah, they've had a couple of bad weeks. Couple of bad weeks, with injuries. And Bradley Johnson wasn't fully fit, and he started the game on the bench, and he came on early. And you know what I mean, Tony's getting pushed a little bit with the injuries that he's getting, and you know what I mean. They've got a good squad side, but you can't afford to pick up the injuries to the best players and the strong players in strong areas. And all it takes, if they get an injury in the centre forward area, it could be disaster for them because they've lost so many goals from midfield with Bradley Dack and so much creativity. And they've obviously pushed Stewie down in further forward and pulled in the defender to cover the left back because it's how you're losing. You're losing probably your most creative player in the league and the best goal scoring midfielder in the league for me, Bradley Dack.
Yeah, absolutely. And Corey Evans is a big player for him as well, which is
massive,
going to be a massive
yeah.
blow for him.
Yeah.
Scott Sinclair, good signing for Preston.
Oh, of course, you know what I mean. He gets you going. You know what I mean. He's obviously experienced now. You know what I mean. He's been there, wore the t-shirt. But I think he's the kind of player what they needed to revitalise their season.
Yeah.
But obviously he needs to play football. He can't. He hasn't gone there to sit on the bench. You know what I mean. And I named you your three behind your front man, who have all impressed me all season. So they're going to take some moving to get him into the side on a regular basis. But it's competition for places, and it might make some players play a little bit better for the rest of the season.
Indeed. Next up was Charlton, West Brom.
Charlton just let so many goals inside. It's just absolutely crazy. I thought the game started pretty evenly. I thought Charlton had a couple of half chances and then overplayed. Not in the goalkeeping area, but overplayed on the right hand side of the touchline. And Kenseth Hall won the ball. He did a unlike Kenseth Hall thing, and then drove himself in the box. Tried a ridiculous shot in my opinion, the first one. Then he stabbed in the second shot, which was great for him. But it was interesting side with Slaven Bilic's formation because obviously he played both Sahar and Robson Kanu together. So to play two big target men up front is a big statement, and something what we spoke about there about Cardiff that it causes more problems because you can't. How do you mark those two sides? It's a big ask, But obviously Charlton got back in the game more or less straight away. About 5 minutes later, through Josh Davison's, I thought it was a great header. To be fair, Sal won the first header off the set piece, and then he swiveled and won the header. Robson Kanu scored their second goal, his first goal, just after half time with another tidy finish. You know what I mean? Got in front of the centre half and stabbed it in the roof of the net with slight deflection, which wrong-footed the goalkeeper. And then the equaliser. How on earth that's been given to the goalkeeper, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's on target. It's hit the post, but it's you can't take it off players' side. It's just unfair, But I think West Brom will rule that because they had so many chances to win the game. They had so many shots on target. They dominated the game defensively and ball possession. But I think Charlton needed that result because Lee Boyer's obviously under a lot of pressure with needing to pick results up, you know what I mean? Because it's a results business, and he's obviously the new owners have taken over. He's got a little bit of money to spend. They've bidded for Madison from Peterborough this morning. They've had a bid accepted. So it'll be interesting if he decides to go there because he's supposed to be one of the best players outside the Championship. So it'll be interesting if he'll improve them going forward because they need a centre forward side. They need someone who's gonna obviously Lyle Taylor's obviously. He's obviously not fit, and needs to be right before he comes back because you're rushing him back like they did, and it's going to cause him more problems physically, and he's going to end up being out for the rest of the season if they're not careful.
Yeah, you can't rush him back. And like I think we said in the start of the season, or certain maybe even the preview show, was Kenneth Sahor will go on a run at some point in the season, score goals, and he'll do it for a few games at least. So his goals. And I wondered whether West Brom playing two up front was just going to be a FA Cup thing to give Zahor an opportunity, but obviously he scored in the FA Cup, and they kept him. So Zahor scored in the FA Cup, kept his place the next game. The boy at Norwich, the 18-year-old Ida, scored a hat trick. Kept his place against Man United in the next league game. Callum Patterson was one of Cardiff's only good players versus Carlisle. Didn't keep his place against Swansea City.
Yeah, this is what I don't get. Football's opinions side, of course it is. It's a game of opinions, but you play you play the players who are in form at that time and who deserves to play. You know what I mean? And there's no favourites in football. As manager, you can't have favourites. You've got to you play to your strengths, and the strengths for me are the players who are scoring goals and playing well. And you know what I mean? You get rewarded with it, and certain managers have been paid back again by that.
Indeed, I thought Sam Johnson looked ropey as hell in this game for West Brom.
Overplaying, bag of
in his
nerves.
box and stuff. I'll talk about it a bit in a minute.
His kicking, his decision making, and to be fair, I thought for the final goal, I thought he could have got across a little bit quicker, which then has an impact on the own goal. So it's, you know what I mean. If you, I just think he could have done a little bit better. And you know, I mean, I seen him last year when he was at Villa, and I thought he was outstanding. So, you know, I mean, I haven't been impressed with him this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought he was very poor on Saturday. Next up is Hull City versus Fulham.
I thought Hull started the game really well. Si, I thought they had a little bit of the impetus. They created a lot of chances, a lot more than Fulham created, but they didn't have the quality. And then all of a sudden, when you've got Knockout who can pass the ball to Cavaleiro in the most ridiculous angle in the world and bend the ball into the top corner, you've always got an opportunity. So when you've got players of that ability in the Championship, they are Premier League players playing in the Championship, and they can win a game out of nothing. And the front three for Fulham are just, on their day, they're scary. And my biggest bugbear with Fulham has been defensively, they can be all over the place at times, and they let themselves down, especially at home. But away from home, they seem a little bit more solid. And I think that Hull had more chances than Fulham, but Fulham had more quality. And like I said, the winning goal was outstanding. And but I think defensively they were excellent. I thought Ream and Hector at the back were brilliant. You know what I mean? I think, like you say, Eves, he had a half chance in the first half, which he probably should have scored. Jared Bourne was kept quiet. Zicki quiet. You know what I mean? And to keep the front three informed players quiet, you know what I mean? It shows how good of a job that Fulham did.
Yeah, you can understand why Fulham wanted to make Cavallero's loan move from Wolves permanent.
Yeah,
I was a little bit surprised, maybe, that they let him go, but I mean, they're very strong. Wolves.
Yeah, it's money talks as well, Si. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
of course.
Wolves can't keep him. You know what I mean? Because they're inundated with players squad wise. You can only have a 25-man squad, so that he would have had to replace somebody. So you know what I mean? And with Europe and stuff, so it's a difficult one.
Yeah, and it does seem as if Jared Bowen doesn't score, Hull don't perform.
Yeah.
Hasn't scored for a couple of weeks now, have he?
Yeah, it's a worry, isn't it? And to be fair, is his mind elsewhere?
Preparing for his big move to Cardiff?
Is he looking for a move? Is he not wanting to get injured? Because you know what I mean, it'd be a travesty side if he got a knock now, and which hampered a move to a good rival Championship club or a Premier League club.
Yeah, a big blow for Fulham, for Mitrovic to be stretchered off. Hopefully, it's nothing too.
Yeah, I hope he's not. We want the best players to play in the Championship, and you know what I mean. He's no different. He leads the line really well, and you know what I mean. They've got good players to bring in instead of him, but I don't want him injured.
Absolutely, mate. Next up was Leeds versus Sheffield Wednesday. Oh dear.
We use the word at the start, side bottling it. You know what I mean. Leeds have missed so many chances this season. You can't afford to miss chances the way they're doing. You know what I mean? Possession-wise, they dominated this game. But the longer this game goes, and the longer Leeds have gone at home, if they don't get the goal side, they look like a bag of nerves. The supporters start getting on players' backs, and Bielsa cannot just accept a draw. Bielsa goes for the three all of the time, and unfortunately, I think on this occasion it's backfired on him a little bit. You know what I mean? First half, he had an offside goal for Patrick Bamford. I thought Jack Harrison was excellent. I thought Klisch was absolutely superb driving from midfield. Stuart Dallas, Costa. But if you don't put your chances away, Si, you're struggling. And I thought Sheffield Wednesday's tactics were spot on. That really defended through the body into the game, and then drove on late in the game. And the two goals that Sheffield Wednesday scored, I thought were absolutely outstanding. And The first goal from Murphy, you know what I mean, to drive on the right hand side and to smash the ball in from the tight angle was absolutely outstanding. And I thought Adam Reach's assist for the second goal in injury time was just phenomenal, and just shows that Chef Wednesday are a very, very decent outfit and are going to cause a lot of sides some problems. And the results what they've had recently, obviously, in the league, that they lost against Hull, they lost against Cardiff, they lost against Stoke. You know what I mean? Those 3 games, they're not season defining, but if those are the decent results up there, they'd be in the top. They could be closer to Leeds than what they think, because they'd be well ahead of Brentford in third. So if that's their bad run out of the way, and it's taking the FA Cup game to turn them around, then they'll be a force for the rest of this year.
Indeed, I thought from Leeds' point of view, I thought Harrison was excellent.
Yeah, he is.
I thought
technically
Glick
very good.
was very unlucky not, to be on the winning side in a game, to play that well and lose 2-0 is
totally agree.
Quite unbelievable. But how many times do we need to say it this year? Paddy Bamford missed chances. Got to put them away.
Leeds need a centre forward side. You know what I mean? We were on about Nketiah earlier, that he leaves Leeds because he's not getting enough game time. Well, could he have scored the winning goal on Saturday? 100%. You know what I mean? So they can't afford to let a good player slip through the net in order to keep Patrick Bamford happy. You know what I mean? Has he scored enough goals this season? No, that's the answer. You know what I mean? The top of the league, they should be scoring the amount of goals that Brentford are scoring. You know what I mean? It's just, it's unfortunately, it's not good enough, the amount of games which they've dropped points in, and because they've dominated those games, and possession-wise, chances created, they've just absolutely dominated the game and dominated it again. And West Brom scored 50 goals, Leeds have scored 43. Brentford have scored more than them. You know what I mean? Like Barnsley have scored 35, so there's not a difference between down the bottom and the top. You know what I mean? A Leeds side who create that many chances, they should be hitting now 60 plus goals, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Easily.
And, it's the chances created. So they need to sort that out and sort it out quickly, because they can't afford, for the position that them and West Brom were in at the start of the season. If they don't go up, it'll be an absolute travesty.
All right. So here's a question for you: If so, behind Patrick Bamford, you've got Harrison, Glick, Dallas, Helder Costa, Phillips, and then off the bench you've got Hernandez, Alioski, and Berardi, Stevens. Okay, so if you take out Patrick Bamford and put in Jared Bowen, is that an upgrade?
I'd probably say no on that one, and it will be purely because they need somebody who's going to lead the line for me, because you've got players who can play from deep, who can play in between the lines from midfield to the front. They've got good wide men. They need somebody, a proper number 9, who can finish the bread and butter 18-yard box, 6-yard box finishes. And I don't think Patrick Bamford is that player. You know what I mean? I don't think he scores enough goals. I need to top my head in that league. Yeah, somebody like a Jordan Rhodes who loves to get in the box and scores goals. You know what I mean? Jordan Rhodes would score 10 times more than Patrick Bamford would in that team, in my opinion.
Yeah. I saw someone, I can't remember which team it was. Might have been Sheffield Wednesday, linked with Connor Wickham today.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Is he any different than what they've got in a Jordan Rhodes, in a Stephen Fletcher?
I was going to say, is he any better than either one of them?
In a Winnell, you know what I mean? I thought Winnell on Saturday was excellent for a start. I thought he should, you know what I mean? So is he any better than what they've got out of those 3? I would say no, in my opinion. But you know what I mean? Are they going for strength in depth in case they need to mix things up a little bit, or to play a 2 regular and mix the 4 between the 2?
Yeah, indeed. It'd be interesting, very, very interesting, because I don't think that Connor Wickham's better than any of those 2.
No way. No,
players.
I don't think he is. And as well, he's going to come down from the Premier League with a reputation and expectation that he's going to have to do well straight away.
Yeah, he's always kind of flattered to deceive for me.
I totally agree. He's had opportunities at Palace, Sunderland. Ipswich, you know what I mean? He hasn't really scored a ton of goals, and not the goals that everyone's expecting him to do. And he hasn't played regular football though in the last couple of years. So
No.
to go and play regular football is going to be a big ask.
Yeah, indeed. Next up is Luton versus Birmingham.
I fear for Luton side, really do. You know what I mean? I just thought these are the kind of games that Luton Town have to win in order for them to stay up. And you know what I mean? To lose the game in the way that they did lose it as well, I think is so disheartening. You know that Birmingham changed tactics a little bit side, that they didn't have Jude Bellingham in. You know what I mean? So they went a little bit more solid. You know what I mean? A little bit less flair. And you know what I mean? We spoke about managers resting players and being big on. He's played a lot of football. Bring him out a little bit and stick him back in next week under different circumstances. They've got to do a good start through Jukovic and run about centre forward side who lead the line really well and put things in certain areas. And Jukovic has done that all his career. And probably Luton came across a Birmingham side who had no pressure on them in a position where they're a little bit they're playing a little bit better than they have done in previous years, and they're a little bit safer than what they are. And I thought for long periods, I thought Luton didn't put a glove on them and didn't really do a lot to really hurt Birmingham. And got a penalty, got an equaliser, but straight away giving goals away against side for Gary Gardner. And it's the amount of goals, and probably not the amount, probably the way that they give goals away for me that is the most concerning. That you know what I mean. That Birmingham didn't really have to try that hard to get the chances what they got to score goals. And you know what I mean. If Birmingham is smashing the ball in from 25 yards and it's going in the top corner, you can swallow it a little bit, but it's the ease of the way that to just go through like butter, and it's just so easy to score goals against Luton at the minute, and they don't score enough goals and not creating enough chances. We spoke about Kenilworth Road being a hard place to go to, and it's not at all at the minute. It seems to be quite a nice place to go to, and people are going and picking some nice performances and results up, and that's for me. That's going to be the concerning part for Luton Town this season and for the rest of the season. It's going to be a massive ask. You know what I mean? We're on about Barnsley, who came down with them. Barnsley for me are in a better position to stay up than Luton Town are.
Yeah,
and that's going to be the concerning thing for Luton, that if they don't achieve what they need to achieve this season, they might not be able to keep some of the better players, because some of the better players might want to stay in the Championship and they'll have to start all over again.
Yeah, at the start of the season, Luton was like a fortress when their teams were struggling when they were going there.
Yeah, totally agree.
And now they've just very much.
It's like they didn't have any respect for teams, but now it's like that teams aren't scared to go to Kenilworth Road, and you know what I mean. It's not a hostile place to go anymore. People are going there and they know they're going to get chances, they know they're going to get goals, and it's not, you know what I mean. There's no reputation there, and you know what I mean. Luton have achieved so much in the last few years, getting promoted from League Two to League One to the Championship, but now it's like they've hit a massive stumbling block and they're really struggling and they can't get out of that big hole.
But I also think that the team, like the Luton team, while other teams are not like fearing going there, or they're not feeling the hostility of going there, I feel like the players from Luton are also not playing with the same aggression. They're not closing down as quick and as much as, you know, as they were not harassing teams as much as they were.
I think it's hard. It must be hard for players, because I've never been in that position that they've had so much success over the last 3 years, that they've won, and all of a sudden now they're losing games. And it's how do you, as a player, do you go from not really losing over the last 3 years to losing quite regular week in, week out? So it's going into work every day, and especially on a Monday, and understanding that you've lost again, and going into the next game and not really looking forward to games, instead of looking forward to every single minute of every single game, where now you're going into the game a little bit less confident, a little bit more tentative, and it'd be hard for them, and it's a learning curve, and you know what I mean. And that's what I said earlier about, if they don't stay in this league, the better players potentially might leave and leave Luton with a big hole to fill, because it's going to be so difficult for them to get out of where they are, because 3 teams have to go down this season, and I'll be honest, I can't see them getting out of this. I'll be honest, I can't.
Yeah, they do look doomed, but you know.
You never say never, but it's obviously transfer January window. are they going to have enough funds in the coffers to go and get themselves out of this trouble? No. Are they going to get loan players? They're going to have to. They're going to have to do something to get them out of this because the squad what they've got currently is not good enough to get them out where they are.
Yeah, and when you look at, like Barnsley, Huddersfield, other teams who are down the bottom, Luton look the kind of the most likely to go down.
Yeah, totally agree.
Next up, we've got Reading versus Forest.
Obviously, this game, Si, was an interesting game on paper before the game started, but didn't come alive until the 95th minute. I think was it the first goal from Ben Watson in the 95th minute. And when you score it in the 95th minute, straight away you think game over, you've won the game. But fair play to Mark Bowen and his side. He's obviously revitalised their whole season, and I was impressed with Lewis Grabbin. I thought he looked dangerous throughout. I thought he had a couple of excellent runs, playing on the shoulder of Reading, and without getting much joy. And I felt so sorry for him, Si, when I seen the highlights of the game, because it's like he's on his own. He's got nobody around him. He's got to do so much work without getting any joy. You know what I mean? It's a tireless job on its own, but especially when you're away from home, that the amount of running he's got to do without getting any players up near him, and he's got to do a lot of his own work on his own without getting any support is a little bit heartbreaking. But this game, it's definite draw, and deserved to be a draw, because nothing really happened until later on in the game side, really. But I was extremely disappointed with the own goal. Figueiredo, you know what I mean? He thought it was the best thing to do was get something on it, and if they let it go, he doesn't know what's behind him. That there was another defender, but he's got something on it and ends up in the back of the net, and absolutely sickening for Nottingham Forest not to get the 3 points, because it would have put them joint third with Brentford, and you know what I mean, defining moments of season side. And Mark Bowen's doing an absolutely amazing job. And if Jonathan Woodgate hadn't got manager of the month, I think he would have been probably my second choice, because I think he's done an amazing job since he's took over there. And he's turned that football club around in a short space of time.
Yeah, he has been sensational, and like we say it every week, but you can't fault him for giving himself a job. Grabham looks just isolated, and he just looks, I thought he looked better this week than he has done for a while.
Yeah,
but he just looks isolated.
Let's go back to Leeds. You put Lewis Grabbin up front for Leeds United. What happens?
Yeah, he scores a load of goals, doesn't he?
And they get promoted. He would be that missing link. But how much is he going to cost? I think Nottingham Forest paid about £5 million for him. So, and they're going to want that and more. Is he worth that? Is he worth that
less than 10 if I was Forest to Leeds, knowing that he's what they need, isn't he?
And is he worth that kind of money?
No, I don't think so.
No, sorry.
10 million, you could get a better striker probably.
I totally agree.
Premier League club, and a younger one maybe as well.
Yeah, totally agree. So it's a difficult situation that teams like Leeds find themselves in because of prices, overpaying. But you know what I mean, that for me, he's probably one of the best Championship strikers, and probably should be playing in the Premier League, or at least given an opportunity in the league above. But hey ho, you know what I mean. I think he leads the line really well, and he needs more support side. You know what I mean. I think Jolly was on the bench, came on, and when players like that come on, they make things happen. But how can you make things happen when you're sat on your backside on the substitute bench?
No, that's it. And there's a few of them around, but it's up to these managers to get the best out of them and get the motivation from them as well as the performances.
Yeah, but then again though, Si, you know what I mean. You look at Forest's front three, and the front three for me, you've got obviously Lewis Grabbin up top. Yeah, you've got Sammy Amiobi in one wing. They had Ribeiro on the other wing. So you know what I mean. They're inundated with quality, but you know what I mean. For me, you play your best players, and Johnny's been one of the outstanding players in the Championship. So you've got to play your best players. You have to.
Yes. It's going to turn into a bit of a dud season for Forest, isn't it? It's like.
Yeah, the one thing is, I'll say, if they get in the playoffs, they're probably the team that you want to play, because they're so hit and miss. You know what I mean? They defensively can be all over the place. You know what I mean? They can hurt you, of course they can, because they've got good players. But you know what I mean? You wouldn't be scared to go to the City ground. It's not a very nice place to go, and they seem to get turned over quite a lot on the road sometimes as well. So for me, I'd be quite happy to play against them.
Yeah, I think so. Next up, Stoke versus Millwall.
Yeah, Gary Rowett back at the Britannia. I can't work Stoke City outside, I'll be honest. You know what I mean? That these are the games that they've got to go into with more belief and more quality and go and win the games. You know that. I was impressed with Campbell up top. I thought he was a threat. He made things happen. He put Sam Vokes in instead of Lee Gregory. And this is one of the decisions I don't get side. You know what I mean? That he put Vokes in instead of Lee Gregory. Lee Gregory would have probably had more of a point to prove against his old side and would have had a really, really strong performance against his old team. But he seems to keep on changing the centre forwards, but he went and changed things later on. He had a front three. He didn't have a wide man. He put McLean off and put Gregory on. So he tried to win the game because he seen it was there for the taking. Shane Williams got a red card for. Actually, I didn't think it was a red card, Si. You know what I mean? I think he went up for a clash of heads. It was a nasty one. It was an awful collision. But I didn't think there was any. I didn't think there was any intent there, and that's the word I'm going for, intent. And I don't think he meant to hurt him. I think he went for a challenge. I'm not saying he went for the ball totally and entirely, but I didn't think it was a red card. And I think if Millwall appeal that, I think they might get that overturned to a yellow, because I didn't think it was a straight red for me.
Yeah, it was a weird one because I actually thought there was one in the Cardiff game. I think it was Chambola on Glatzel, and I actually didn't think there was that much difference in the two, other than this one made a lot more clean contact, so it caused more damage.
Yeah.
But in terms of what they were, I didn't think there was a great deal of difference in them.
Yeah.
But you know, unfortunately, sometimes referees judge on
it's also
reaction
caused
and reaction rather than
of players as well. You know what I mean? Listen, it looked a nasty one, but
it
looked a nasty
in
collision.
real time, especially.
Yeah, nasty collision, not a nasty challenge. You know what I mean? There's different. There's been worse tackles this season which have been unpunished, or especially yellows. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? I think it might be overturned in my. But let's see. You know what I mean? I'm not I wish people getting injured and stuff, but I think sometimes when you can tell from a player's reaction when he got sent off, I think Shane was very shocked and surprised, and so were the Millwall players to see a red card brandished straight away.
Yeah, I think Stoke, with the players they've got to be doing more.
Underachieving, Si, and massively underachieving, and if they do escape this season and do get away with it, there's a huge job to be done in the summer to get rid of players, to bring players in, to have the right recruitment, because that football club should not be down where they are. You know, I mean, we spoke about this side start of the season, and after 5 games, saying, yeah, they'll turn it around. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They'll turn it on. They've got too much quality to not turn things around. 27 games later, they're still a point above relegation, and next Saturday or midweek they could be in relegation if somebody puts them into it again. So it's you know what I mean? They just don't seem to get away from what's happening. They go to West Brom next weekend, which is horrific. Then they play Swansea at home, Derby away, Charlton at home, Preston at home, QPR away, Cardiff at home, Blackburn away. You know what I mean? Their next 10 games are absolutely awful. So, you know what I mean, on paper, they could probably win them all. Of course they can. But they could also not win any of them. And so it's just going to be such an interesting finish to the season for teams like that, because they can't afford to get relegated either. The football club's too big to go down, but unfortunately the league table doesn't lie, and if they do go down, it's because their players have not done enough this season to keep them in it.
No, that's it. And the thing is, it wouldn't surprise you if Stoke stayed up by a point, finished 4th from bottom, and then next year ran away with the league by 15 points.
Yeah, agree.
Because
totally
that's
agree.
the quality of the squad they've got. But
it just needs tweaking. It needs more belief. There's something massively missing, and it's the start they had side. They delayed things too long before they made that they made that decision. You know what I mean? Is of the recruitment have they got the wrong kind of players? You know what I mean? It's be interesting to see what happens long term with that football club because there's obviously something massively wrong.
Yeah, indeed there is. Okay, and the final game is Wigan versus Bristol.
Oh, the best goal of the day was absolutely gutted when the referee chalked this one off at 0-0. You know what I mean? It was by, I can't pronounce his name, but it's the lad who scored the second goal. And if anybody gets to see it, please find it and just to watch it because it was given for offside. He took a touch on his chest and volleyed it from about 35 yards and right in the top corner. And if I'd have scored a goal like that, I don't think I'd have stopped celebrating. I'd probably get sent off for celebrating. Mm-hmm. So disappointed with that. But like Luton side, Wigan for me look absolutely doomed. They're showing nothing. They're showing nothing. Defensively, they're all over the place. That Bristol City didn't have to do a lot to win this game. You know what I mean? They created chance after chance. You know what I mean? Of easy chances, even though Wigan had more chances on goal, but they had more shots, but didn't create any chances. If that makes sense, that they didn't get behind Wigan. Didn't get behind Bristol City. Sorry, didn't really have anything that really hurt Bristol City. And Bristol City just when they wanted to carve them open, and the chances that they get are through balls, and they're just so easy to open up. And I'm really worried for Wigan that they lose against Bristol City. They got a positive result against Birmingham last time around, but you know what I mean. You look at the last probably 20 games side that they've won one in something like 18 or something, and that's not good enough. And the two goals Bristol City scored through Patterson and I think it's Diedu, and not good enough. And Bristol City deserved to win the game, and I do fear for Wigan. I think them and Luton plus one more for me on current form and is what's gonna see the season through.
Yeah, it's the thing with the goal which got disallowed is obviously it's a cracking goal. It's what a finish. But the thing which is frustrating is the offside decision that caused that goal to be disallowed is like 30 yards away.
You know,
it's not like it's in the the sideline of the keeper, or it's taking a deflection off an offside player, or something which has an impact on that passage of play.
Yeah.
Which is a bit disappointing because obviously you want to see fantastic goals, and you want to see goals like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bit frustrating. I thought Bristol were very good going forward, and obviously kept another clean sheet. I worry for Wigan.
Yeah, massively.
I really do. I thought the boy who scored that goal and scored the second goal, Diedu, I thought he had an excellent game actually.
Yeah, he led the line really well, Si. And if the plan long term is to play him and Mkhitaryan up front, for example, I think it'll cause a lot of problems because they've got some good creativity. You know, I mean, they seem to have sorted out their defensive problems and Bristol City and so I think fully deserve the 3 points. And Bristol City need to go on and run their side. They can't afford to win this week, lose the next week, and be inconsistent because, like you said earlier, the size of the squad they've got, the players they've got, the money they've spent, they shouldn't be ninth in the league. They should be in and around the playoffs. Yes, they're only one win away from the playoffs, but from 6th to 9th, that all you are is a couple of bad results away from being mid-table or a couple of wins away from being in third in the league. So, but they need to make sure that they are third in the league and not the latter and being mid-table, because that'll be Lee Johnson out of a job.
Yes, and I think they have been very hit and miss, and they need to rectify that quickly because otherwise their season could kind of fizzle out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the games for today, for this week. It was full of goals and action and all sorts. So let's finish off the show with the fun bits and the let's see what we got. So we got our 2 for 2s, where myself and Andy will pick 2 big performances, moments, or players, and 2 nightmares for the weekend. And let's have a look. Let's go with ups this week. Why not? Who you got for your first one, mate?
I'll start with Ivan Cavallero from Fulham's winning goal. I thought it was absolutely just exquisite. You know what I mean? To get the ball on the edge of that box, and we're not really just didn't expect anything to happen at that time, but to curl in the top corner and to be the winning goal, you know, what I mean, just shows how much quality Fulham have in their individuals, and it's a winning goal, and yeah, brilliant moment to win a football match.
Yeah, Bosh, superb. My first up is don't know if it's how you pronounce it, but it's Diadu from Bristol City. I thought he was excellent. Obviously, he had the superb goal, which was disallowed, but even just generally, his all-round play was superb, and he picks up a nice goal as well.
He did.
Very good.
My second one side was Naby Sarr, Charlton centre half. You know what I mean? To play against both Kenneth Sahar and Robson Carney, you know what I mean, is a massive ask, and he made some absolutely amazing clearances. There was one in particular where I think somebody went through and he made a goal saving tackle. You know what I mean? So it just shows, you know what I mean, that we're not just about goals here. You know what I mean? We reward the defenders as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and I thought that was that's a good shout, mate. I like that. I've gone for Barry Bannon, Sheffield Wednesday.
Great
shout. I thought he was absolutely superb.
He's technically Sarr, one of the best players in the championship.
There was one for the goal. For the first, I think it was the first goal, might be the second though. First goal, he slots the ball like a little reverse pass behind the fullback for the winger to run onto and cross, and he pulls it back for the goal. And it's just the vision and the weight of the pass is just really kind of topped off what he's about and what he's been about, particularly in that game, but been all season.
Good shout. Great shout.
And okay, who you got for your first down, mate?
I've gone for Patrick Bamford and Co. and Leeds United's missed chances, because you know what I mean, the amount of quality what's on show at Leeds United, and for them to miss those kind of chances is just criminal. And if it's going to come back and haunt them and bite them on the backside, then you know what I mean, they've only got themselves to blame, because they miss 15, 16 good chances a week, and it's just embarrassing at times.
Yeah, and I do wonder, we said this earlier in the season, but I just wonder if it could end up costing them.
Yeah, totally agree. I think, well, to be fair, on current form side, and this isn't the first time we spoke about this, that it is going to cost them. And I can't afford it to cost them.
You look at West Brom, you look at Brentford, both doing well. You look at Fulham, who are now winning again.
Yeah.
And then you've got maybe a couple of other teams as well. It's just like Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, you're looking over your shoulder now instead of
running away with it like they should have been.
They should have been. Now, like I said, it should have been 60 plus goals. It should be, you know what I mean, they should be close to the promotion soon. You know what I mean? Instead of looking over the shoulder now at teams who are chasing them really, really quickly, really strongly.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. It's just, I just can't believe they're going to bottle it again. I just can't think that that's possible. But Derby did it for years as well, though, didn't they?
So part of me hopes they don't side, because that football club deserves to be in the Premier League. But
yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? Performances on that, you can't afford to miss chances like they have done and get away with it. So.
Indeed. My first down is Sam Johnson, goalkeeper for West Brom. His distribution was rubbish. His kicking was rubbish. He was all over the place trying to play out from the back when shouldn't have been. His footwork was slow for the one goal, which meant that it ended up rebounding back off him. He hasn't had a great season, but he's had a couple of great games. But I thought he was particularly poor, particularly with the ball at his feet on the weekend.
Great show.
Who you got for your second one?
My second one, I've gone for a double team. So I've gone from Wigan Athletic and Luton Town's defending, because I just thought, no mistakes. I just thought it was just so easy to get through, and just Bristol City and Birmingham City. You know what I mean? Not probably two of the best sides in the league, but just created some easy chances and scored some easy goals, and didn't really have to try enough and that hard to win the two football matches. And I think those two are going to try and stay in this league, they need to defend a hell of a lot better than what they are.
Yeah, indeed. I struggled for a second down this week. Not because necessarily there wasn't any, but I kind of was like, don't know. I nearly gave it to the Swansea defender who elbowed Glatzel, and I looked at it again and I was like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So in the end, I went for the Swansea head coach, Steve Cooper,
Nice.
for his post-match comments, because
About
I
the
thought they
grass.
were embarrassing.
Yeah, well, I don't get that. I didn't
About
get
the
it.
long grass and this, that, and the other. It was just all a bit.
It's funny that no other team has complained about it.
Yeah, it was weird because like he didn't even really try, and if they played their usual game, then I would have thought, all right, maybe it was, maybe Cardiff did let it grow out a bit, wouldn't be unheard of.
But it doesn't grow.
Swansea didn't even play that way. They played like a really direct game.
Grass doesn't grow that quickly, and you know what I mean. What did he do? Did he get his ruler out and just measure it compared to everybody else's? You know what I mean? I just don't get it. It's just a silly comment. It doesn't need to be said on a big game after a big game, because he's saying about the long grass, and then his next breath saying, but I'm not complaining about it. Well, no, you are complaining about it. So if you weren't complaining, you wouldn't have mentioned it. You keep it in house, so just keep it yourself.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, wasn't it? It was like a bit petty almost, I would say.
Yeah, like that was the excuse of his side not creating more chances, or the reason why he didn't play football, because the grass was long. So he went direct because the grass was long. Rubbish. Don't be.
Just made him look a bit silly.
Yeah, you went direct because that was the tactics of the game and it worked. So just be proud of your team.
Yeah, and I think he should be commended for that, because he thought outside the box instead of doing what Swansea have so often done over the years of just always play the same way.
Yeah, totally
and then
agree,
they get found out by teams which are a bit more tactically aware. They tried something different and it worked for him.
Totally agree, but don't come out with a silly comment. You don't need to do it. Just save your breath.
Okay, so we're going to save the Peaches word association for the last question.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to go to some questions. If you guys want to send some questions, you can send them in every week to facebook.com/ACEcastNation or Twitter @ACEcast_nation. Use the hashtag AceNationArmy or email acenetworkcontact@gmail. Or you can send them by DM or PM on Facebook and Twitter as well. So I think I haven't written who wrote this. I think it was Gaz. Gaz Cubbins, maybe Gaz. Gaz. He says, if Sky Sports, Talk Sport, BBC Sport, whoever come knocking, they should, in brackets, to pay you to put your show on their channel, would you take the money?
I'm happy, Si, with how we are advertising the championship, and we're doing what the punters and supporters want us to do and say. We're very honest. We haven't got, you know what I mean. We give out praise where it's due. We give out the negatives when it's due, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'll go with the flow, and wherever the show ends up, I'll be proud, like I am, of what you've achieved and what input I've had along the way. So I'm very happy.
Sweet. They couldn't afford us anyway.
I agree.
Plus, don't want a producer telling us what to say, do we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd have somebody constantly saying, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that, you can't say that. Oh, there you go.
No, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. What happens. Never know what's around the corner.
Yeah, totally agree.
Johnny wants to know: Have you spoken to Dave Jones since you fell out or since you retired?
No, not once. I'll be honest. That's just one person that I haven't. Would I speak to him? I've got respect for people in football side. So if he was willing to have a conversation about football or about something, whatever, I wouldn't ignore him. You know what I mean? Because that's not the kind of person I am. You know what I mean? I'll be honest. I lost a lot of respect for him as a manager, as a person, but I wouldn't be disrespectful, because I think that's also a wrong thing to do as well. Because you know what I mean? I'm not a young lad, or I'm not as young as I was when I was at Cardiff. So a lot of water has gone under the bridge since I left Cardiff City. So I wouldn't be disrespectful enough to ignore him as well. So
when would have been the last time you spoke to Dave Jones then? Like when you left?
When I left Cardiff City.
Smart,
So yeah, so you know what I mean. It is what it is. That's football. You know, it's you know what I mean. Whereas you know what I mean, Brian Robson, the day that he left Middlesbrough, when he resigned at Middlesbrough, I've seen him quite a lot of times. I spoke to him on the phone. I spoke to him in person. When I've banged into him, I spoke to his kids. So I've got a different relationship to him. So it's different, isn't it? And that's not saying that he's my favourite. It's just you have a different relationship with people, and you cross paths. Sometimes you don't. But, yeah. But indirectly, I spoke to Dave on Twitter or about Dave, so maybe that's
Did you?
yeah. Yeah, I got myself in a lot of trouble, didn't I? So yeah, probably need to get that tweet out and find it for you.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it, have I?
I'll find it.
Well, yeah, and when we do end up on Sky Sports, because of course we will, the their first guest they'll probably book is like Dave Jones. He'll turn up.
Yeah, he'll turn up
for the championship
unannounced.
show.
Unannounced.
Yeah. Hi, Dave.
Unannounced. Yeah. Hi, Dave. How are you doing? Long time no see.
Him and Danny Mills, and you'll be sat in the middle.
With boxing gloves either side of me.
Name one loan player and one permanent signing that Cardiff City should sign in January.
Oh,
yeah.
a full-time player, so permanent player has got to be Jared Bowen for me, because I think he would make a difference. Either behind, wide. I think he'd take the pressure off Lee Tomlin for certain. Loan player off the top of my head, I probably won't name a name, but I think we should go for a player who's got a point to prove from a top four side. So. You know what I mean? For example, Middlesbrough just signed Patrick Roberts. So somebody who's got a point to prove from a Premier League side, who's going to come down to the Championship and have something to prove. For me, the kind of players I mentioned him earlier, someone like Dwight Gale, who for me doesn't need to prove a point to anybody. You know what I mean? It's a dead signing. So a young lad who's got a point to prove would be a big signing for me, because those are the kind of players that Cardiff need to start attracting, and if the Welsh and fans can relate, then so be it. You know what I mean? I've seen the Cardiff have been linked with Kiefer Moore, but is it just signing someone for the sake of signing because he plays for the Welsh national team? Does he score enough goals? No.
Is he better than Glatzel?
Is he better than Glatzel? No. You know what I mean? Will he bring something different to what Cardiff City play? I'd probably say no, because if you're going to play two up top, are you going to play two similar players? I'd probably say no. So he's probably going to keep the same formation. So yeah, then you're going to have Gratzel on the bench. You're still going to have Callum Patterson on the bench. Then you're going to have Kiefer Moore up top playing up front on his own. So it's still going to be the similar performances, and you're going to get a player who has he got the players around him like he's playing with in the Welsh national team? No, he hasn't. Yeah. So are you going to get the same level of performances out of him? No. So is he? You know what I mean? You're signing a player side who's scored hardly any goals in the Championship for Wigan Athletic, but he's doing it in the national team because he's playing with better players.
He's playing with Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey, and Daniel James behind him.
Exactly, which is so different to what he's going to be playing with at Cardiff City. And that's no disrespect to the players at Cardiff City, by the way. So it's, you know what I mean?
Those three players are like world-class players, aren't they? With Daniel James has got work to go, but
the other totally two agree. Are. Yeah, totally agree. But then at the same time, the price that is getting branded about, you know what I mean, what Cardiff offered apparently, I think is a fair price. They're asking for double. It's not it's silly season where people can ask more money, and that's Wigan probably looking at the bigger picture, thinking, right, we're going to go down. Let's cash in and get as much as we can for these kind of players, because if we go down, these players are either going to be out of contract and leave for free, or they're going to be worth half or less than what we're getting offered now. So let's cash in while we can.
My ideal transfer window for January for Cardiff would be Joe Ledley on a free to play defence, like holding midfielder, Jared Bowen and Camarasa. Sign those three. And
great
actually, if maybe take Joe Ledley out and sign a young, pacey forward or winger. But I mean, Jared Bowen can also do that as well. So
that's what they need for me, Si. Pace is what's caused problems in the Championship. Pace. So they need pace. You know what I mean? We just named Gareth Bale, Aaron Ramsey, Daniel James. They've all got pace. They've all got ability. You know what I mean? Pace is what causes problems.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Okay, so to finish the questions, let's go with Peach's word association, where you've got to say first, slightly different this time because she's asked you specific things or people.
Okay.
So she says, angriest manager,
Sam Allardyce.
calmest player,
Calmest player. Leo Fortune West. It's the nicest plug in the world.
funniest thing you've ever seen on a pitch, I'm assuming.
Funniest thing I've ever seen on a pitch. It's got to be when I got hit with a pie in the face. If it happened to somebody else, it probably wouldn't have been as funny. But because it happened to me, it's just great. I could just taste tomato sauce for the rest of the game. I just remember it. I always remember that game for that. Forget if it didn't score me a hat trick, it probably would have been irrelevant because of that. You know what I mean? I probably should remember my hat trick more of that game, but I remember it more because I got hit with the pie. So I'll go for that.
Scariest moment on a football pitch.
Oh, scariest moment on a football pitch. Probably not live while like for playing, but when Fabrice Muamba had his heart attack, so I was watching that game live, and
yeah,
those things should never happen anywhere. But to happen on a football pitch in front of people is just something that should never happen. So I hope it never happens again.
Indeed. And last one is worst physio.
Oh, worst physio. That's a strange one, that because yeah, I've had
some characters, don't they?
I've had a couple. Yeah, I'll go. I won't say worse because I'll change the wording. But Bob Ward, and Bob was my physio at Middlesbrough. And, Bob is best mates with the gaffer Robbo. Saved his life apparently when they were at West Brom together. So we had some good fun when I was injured. I had a 14-month ankle injury, needed operation, etc. So yeah, just some of the things he'd come out with. He was just pretty, you know what I mean. But yeah, physios are characters between themselves. They're just amazing people because you know what I mean. Especially for professional footballers, when you're out for that long, 14 months, you know what I mean. To get me through that time was amazing. But yeah, people like I'll go with Bob because Bob was a character just in himself.
Top man. Guys, best way to help us continue our growth is for you guys to interact with our posts, leave comments on the YouTube videos, leave reviews on iTunes and stuff like that. Share, tell your friends. Most importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click the bell so you're notified every time we upload a brand new show. We upload 3 podcasts a week. This one comes out on a Wednesday at the moment. Eventually, sometime during 2020, probably early 2020, it's going to be going out live on a Monday night, but we're not sure when yet. We're building up for the live shows. You can follow Andy on Twitter at Andy Campbell 32. You can follow me at ACEcast_nation, Facebook.com/ACEcastNation. Like I said, YouTube and all the shows are available in audio format at Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, all those lovely places for podcasts. And check out OA Day Apparel. And use the code AA Podcast Nation, all lowercase, for 10% off your next order. Andy, thanks for joining me, mate. Appreciate it as always. It's been good stuff. Oh, can you believe?
You forgot the most important bit.
I forgot the most important part of the whole show.
It's because we didn't do it last week. That's what it was.
Jesus, how could I do such a thing?
Last week. There we
go. I didn't forget it. It was because it's the main event. We're going to finish with fake Geordie bingo lingo, where Andy teaches me something about his northern culture.
Right. Well, something what people may or may not know. Probably don't. It's not something that. Well, it's something I'm really proud of. I don't really tell people. But obviously, Middlesbrough manager is born and bred. Jonathan Woodgate in Middlesbrough, like my good self. And me and Jonathan went to the same school together. We were teammates. We were work colleagues at school. So yes, it's something interesting for people to know about my culture. Is something that I'm proud of being brought up in the area and being brought up. Middlesbrough born and bred, but we both went to Nunthorpe school and have known each other since we were 11-year-olds. So quite a long time really. Considering I've just turned 40 and he's 39. So Yeah. Go back a long way.
That's why you never criticise him, innit?
That's
Favoritism.
That's why I wanted to keep his job.
No, he's it. And see, we stuck by him, and look at the job he's doing now.
Exactly.
It's what can happen.
Exactly.
Man United take note. They're about to sack Solskjaer for Pochettino.
Yeah.
I've been told by a little dicky bird.
Well, to be honest, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, apparently he's going in the summer. But someone else different from that person told me that Solskjaer is going to be director of football. That would be the all-time worst decision in the history of football, I have to say.
That would be very strange, though, for him to go upstairs, wouldn't it? Very strange.
It's not like it's like Fergie, is it? Who's like experienced and he's moving upstairs for a younger manager.
No, that would be. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. If you're losing your job, you're losing your job because you've not achieved what you wanted to achieve. So you can't be above somebody else and giving them direction if you've underachieved. It's not like it's a Fergie or a Wenger or somebody who's achieved loads but have just hit a wall where the time's come. Neil Warnock, who's achieved everything and more. You know what I mean? He's achieved nothing in a massive club and has struggled at other clubs he's been at as well. So yeah, very strange decision.
Indeed. Andy, thank you for joining me, mate.
My pleasure, mate. Yeah, loved it again.
Always. Guys, thanks for listening. See you next week.